porch pirate who stole packages from several houses in Greenfield, St. Francis, and Milwaukee is facing 9 felony counts in court. Forecast for Milwaukee and Madison tonight, clear skies, lows in the upper 20s, sunshine tomorrow, highs in the low 40s. You're listening to Real Resistance Radio.
Warning, you are about to listen to the greatest radio show ever. And no, are not necessarily those of this station or its management. This radio show contains differing points of view on current political topics. And due to the nature of its contents, it should be heard by everyone. Thank you for listening.
3, 2, 2.
Best friends proving it's never personal, only politics.
Please allow me to introduce myself.
Now here are your hosts, Dom and Crute.
Welcome to the Devil's Advocates radio show. Dominic, I understand it's Thursday. I'm all discombobulated this week with the new year and all that such thing. But, Dom, I do know one thing for surezies.
What's that?
4 days, and Wisconsin is scot-free.
The number of the day is 4. Do we have it? We don't have it. Oh, we'll get it. Brian's on it. 4.
Come on,
4
Gary.
more days. 4. I am so excited.
As am I. As am I, Dominic. It is far too long, those 4 days. It's like counting down till Christmas. We should have done a Scott Walker Advent countdown calendar, with all the malfeasance. You open up here and dark money comes pouring out. Something of that sort.
Right.
The number of the day. Who could ask for more? The number of the day is 4.
Woo! Well done, Brian.
The number of the day is 4. Dom, we've only got a couple of live shows until the Evers Inauguration Day, and that is Monday. We'll broadcast it live, at least if Evers grants us our press credentials.
We don't have them yet?
No, I don't believe anyone probably has them yet. Most are presumptive that they'll be acknowledged, as am I, and we will be broadcasting, and if we are not, it's going to be one of the most miserable inaugurations in Wisconsin history, because I will make it so. No, I'm not even clear why you need, honestly, public forum, Wisconsin State Capitol Rotunda. I'm not clear why we need to be credentialed to be in the people's house, but, so they get a sense of how many they're accommodating and all that kind of stuff. Taking a little control over the venue, if you will, Tom. So I went through all the putting in the every little step, and, not just a website, got to do the HTTP and a colon and 2 backs. I mean, really sort of a pain in my ass, quite frankly. And then the post-inauguration, the gala, Dom, I just didn't even bother. I just bought tickets. So my treat, buddy, we're going to a party Monday night, and if any party's going to be a barn burner, it's going to be a Monday night party hosted by Tony Evers on a school night.
Well, now, my understanding, Crudy, you told me yesterday that this gala on Monday for Tony Evers is black tie optional. Is that what
Something
you heard?
of that sort. You got to dress up a
So
little.
the question is, Crudy, are you wearing a tux?
A tuxedo? I do not own a tux, nor would I rent a tux. Maybe, velour, powder puff blue, some
Maybe we should go
thing.
as like a Chippendales tux, with just the tie, some tight pants that Velcro and rip off, dressing up for the occasion.
Which one are you, Patrick Swayze or Chris Farley?
Well, obviously, you're Chris Farley and I'm Patrick Swayze. I mean, there's really not a question there, is there?
I mean, that seems like the obvious joke, Tom, but you are looking just a little puffy. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I've been working out a lot.
Could be 2 Chris Farleys.
My God.
You know which way the gym is? All right, so we're partying on Monday, and I got to dress up or wear a suit coat or something, huh?
Something of the sort. Black tie optional, though. Do you own a tie, sir?
I want to tie you up with some of your ties, Ty. Yes, I have many, many fine ties. So, of course, I haven't...
You want to tie me up with some of your ties, Ty?
You are just amazing, Brian. I haven't worn any in some time, so it's probably been 8 years since I bought a tie.
I don't know the last time I bought a tie, but I would certainly be able to find a tie, just not a black tie, probably.
Big, long, red tie. Long.
I've got one of those.
Yeah.
I got one of those.
Oh,
The
it looks
extra
good on
long
you,
red
though.
tie. Now, I don't know how we've waded into the weeds as such, Dom. I wanted to talk about a Tony Evers press conference. Showed up again. Did not seek to prior credential myself. I don't believe in the whole RSVP thing. I'm just not a big believer. I don't do the Facebook. Are you showing up to something on Facebook? I don't click like interested or going.
You are
I don't check in once I get there.
a rebel without a cause.
I mean, I find it good to be informed that something's happening, and let me inform our audience, Dom. We got a big show happening right here, including an author, and I got to tell you, Dom, I often claim that the books are fascinating. They're not always, but this one pretty damn good. Robert Friedman. I did some reading last night, a little homework, if you will, Dom. A few $1,000s. Not just you seeking a personal loan.
Can you help a guy out?
The name of Robert Friedman's book, Sparking Prosperity for Everyone. And I found this to be a page turner. I'm going to encourage people to buy this book. An afterword by Cory Booker. And Robert Friedman joins us in the 3 o'clock hour Central Time today also. Batman, we sent out the signal and Batman responded. Matt Rothschild, Executive Director, Wisconsin Democracy Campaign. He will join us in the 4 o'clock hour, the happy hour, if you will, Dom. But Tony Evers crashed another Tony Evers presser today. I was the last one in the door. Had a little trouble finding parking.
Running a little late, were you?
It was close. It was close, and Earl wanted his credentials or tickets to the party. I bought Earl tickets too. Earl, I got you covered. So don't even sweat it, Earl. You're going to the big Evers Gala.
All right, we're partying.
But anyways, big show. A few fine guests coming, Dom, but an Evers press conference, for me at least, to start the business portion of my day. And I got to tell you, this is, I'm not even going to characterize.
Well, you were there. You got to.
But, I don't get like the background information. He's rolling out cabinet secretaries, number of them today. And I looked over and, I was surprised to see a few friends, a few prior guests on the Devil's Advocates radio show in the mix, in the lineup of presumed cabinet secretaries to be introduced this morning. Of course, we know Mandela Barnes, know Tony Evers, but I also know Peter Barca and the former Assembly Minority Leader who gave up his position in the Assembly, the perpetual minority over in the gerrymandered Assembly, Peter Barca, now a part of the Tony Evers cabinet, or at least he will be when confirmed. Didn't expect to see him there. And also the outgoing senator from the 1st, Caleb Frostman. Guy won a special election in the state of Wisconsin, and then he lost the general election.
To
so
whom?
It was
to whom?
Andre Jacques.
Oh, come on. Andre Jacques?
You know what was really depressing about that? Not just that Andre Jacques a terrible, terrible lawmaker.
And that people up there would actually vote for him. Besides that.
Yes, Andre Jacques, a terrible, I don't want to say human being, probably a good human being on some weird level. But Caleb Frostman, a pretty dynamic speaker. This guy's impressive. He came on our show, Dom, before he won the special election. Maybe they should have given more emphasis to putting him on the show. Maybe he would have won the general. But now, apparently, he's all lined up to be a Evers cabinet secretary, Dom.
Caleb Frostman, Department of Workforce Development, according to the Evers press release. Frostman currently serves as a senator in the 1st, as you mentioned. Previously served as the executive director for the Door County Economic Development Corporation. Frostman, a Wisconsin native from the Green Bay area, served on the Bear Area Workforce Development Board, Door County Visitor Bureau, and Sturgeon Bay Visitor Center. Currently serves on the board of the Sunshine House, an organization that serves adults with disabilities.
Well, Tom, that's what's so galling about it. He seems so capable.
Right.
And yet he will not be in the Wisconsin State Senate in the fall. He singularly is the justification Scott Fitzgerald uses to claim victory in the midterms. Well, we won one additional seat. They beat back the special elective seat
that they
took
lost.
It back from Frostman.
Yeah, they failed to mention they lost that, but yes, technically he's correct.
did I mention, didn't see him this morning, but our buddy Brian, the WIDA guy, the guy that heads up WIDA now, was there to oversee the WIDA, talking about Republican appointee of Scott Walker's. He was the vice chair of the Republican Party and a right-wing talk radio.
Oh, he was on Vicky's show all the time, right?
It's not Schimming, Schimmel. No, Schimming. Brian Schimming. Schimmel is the hack attorney general. Schimming, a decent guy, although he does right-wing talk radio on occasion. And then he found himself in the vaunted position of WIDA secretary under Scott Walker. I don't know how you go from radio to WIDA, but whatever. Perhaps you can go there next time. But I saw him the other day.
Weed czar.
I saw him the other day talking about Brian Schimming. And Schimming said to me, I'm packing up the office. I'm unemployed coming up soon.
Oh, right.
Now, I did not offer the man a job, but I have wished him well in his future endeavors. But you got to understand, the Republicans, all of the Walker cabinet appointments, all the bureaucrats, all the, the appointees of Scott Walker, they're all packing their offices down. They're all getting up and getting ready to leave.
The inefficient, heavy hand of Republican government, you mean?
Well,
I'm going to get you a nice fruit basket. I'm going to miss him.
The Evers administration, Dom, they're rolling it out day by day. They're getting ready for us. And we will take our first break. I'm ready for one. Is it too early to call it a day, Dom?
I think we did a hell of a job. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. We're going to head up to that bar for some happy hour. Now we'll come back. There's a lot to get to. Crudy, you went on assignment today. You were out covering. You were doing press and doing what they have to say in the coverage that you provided, Michael. I appreciate it.
Well, I did get a warm, gracious handshake from Peter Barca. I wished him good luck in his newest position. He will be the Secretary of the Department of Revenue. And you know what? Even Robin Voss, happy about the appointment of Peter Barca. Robin Voss put a little presser out. Said Tony Evers finally got one right. Which immediately makes me very nervous. Right. Tony Evers might have gotten this one wrong. I like Peter Barca as well. Former Assembly Minority Leader. Former Congressman. The guy worked in D.C., right? He headed up the small business
Formerly voted for the Foxconn deal? That Peter Barca?
Oh, yeah, maybe that's why he got it right.
Yeah.
At least in the opinion of Robin Voss. Boss Voss likes him. That makes me immediately skeptical. Come back with us. More Devil's Advocates. Phone lines open for you at 844-967-2789.
No, I'm going to stay for a while. How about that?
The number of the day. Who could ask for more? The number of the day is 4.
Freedom.
Shut up, you little weasel.
Now go home and get your f***ing shine box.
I'm Andy Buck, Field Representative with Painters and Allied Trades of Wisconsin. It's an issue that brings constant challenges for building contractors. How to find qualified painters, glazers, and drywall finishers. IUPAT knows what you want. A professional job performed by skilled workers who care about safety, training, and finishing strong. Workers who are reliable and ready on demand. Let IUPAT provide the people power that you need. You'll feel confident the job is finished right. Connect at IUPATDC7.com and finish strong.
On marijuana, unfortunately, as a public health issue and a public safety issue, I've opposed that.
Dr. Sanjay Gupta, how can medical marijuana help those addicted to opioids?
There's 3 big things. There's clear consensus now that cannabis can treat pain. That is not an opinion. That is a consensus conclusion by big scientific bodies like the National Academy of Science. We also know that it can help treat the withdrawal symptoms of opioids. People, they don't want to be on it anymore. They want to quit, but they develop the terrible withdrawal symptoms. And now we have evidence that it can actually help heal the part of the brain that is diseased in someone who's an opioid addict. If you had to start from scratch and design a substance to help lead us out of the opioid epidemic, like in a lab, it would probably look very much like cannabis.
Call Governor Scott Walker at 608-266-1212. Tell him good people do smoke marijuana. This message was paid for by the People for People Corporation. Donate online at p4ppc.org, p4ppc.org. This is Dom from the Devil's Advocates. You know, in the 7 years that Crudy and I have been doing the show, we have never had a more engaged, dialed in, and motivated audience, and we love them for it. Now is the time for you to reach the greatest audience ever. Call now, advertise with the Devil's Advocates and Real Resistance Radio. Market your products or services, get your message out, join the resistance. Call us at 414-635-0872. That's 414-635-0872 or go to realresistanceradio.com.
I don't know if you know the Devil's Advocates, but they are kind of a big deal.
And we are back. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show on Real Resistance Radio, streaming on the YouTube and Facebook pages. We are on Twitter at Devil Radio. You can always join us on the phone, talk, or text at 844-967-2789.
Dominic, at the press conference this morning, the governor-elect Tony Evers, Mandela Barnes presser. I think this is like the fourth time I've been there to see the cabinet secretaries rolled out. And I would point out, before we get to the secretaries, and we'll introduce you, not just to Peter Barkera, not just to Caleb Frostman, but to the 5 new appointees. But Dominic, I would say a little bit of news made today at the press conference, and who was it? Paul Trotter on the Facebook live stream. I was live streaming, and Paul Trotter said, "I bet you Crudy gets the first question." I'm thinking, man, that's a lot of pressure. I don't know what I'm going to ask the man today. Well, anyways, someone else had a better idea than I today. And the question, Tony Evers apparently out doing interviews, at least print interviews, and a question was asked of Tony Evers, what specifically in the lame duck won't you do? Which legislation are you not going to follow the law on? And Tony Evers, and I would say the newsworthy part is the articles I read yesterday left every impression. What Tony Evers say? Sue me. I'll end up as the defendant. But apparently Tony Evers isn't saying that he's going to go out there and do anything bold per se. He's just talking about logistically he's going to be the placeholder. So he's probably the guy who's going to get sued. Or at least that is the new impression, the clarification, the news that Tony Evers left the attendees of the press conference with today. If we could, Fancy Brian, going to need your help. Tony Evers, governor-elect, Cut 95, he was asked, which law aren't you going to follow, Cut 95?
No, the legislation that passed in the lame duck session I found to be problematic from all sorts of areas, not only for myself, but for the Attorney General. I personally have reviewed them, and we've reviewed them with attorneys and other legal staff. We haven't decided what to do personally. It's just been my experience that when this happens, it likely will happen from the outside. I don't know if that's the case. We already have one outside organization challenging parts of the law. We anticipate that happening going forward. And if that does, it's very likely that I will be the person that is sued, because I will be governor at that point in time. It has nothing to do with me not following the law. The fact is, as I found during when I was state superintendent, I was sued because people thought the law was unconstitutional. It wasn't about whether I was implementing or not. I was implementing it as state superintendent because it was a law. My comment is this: it's likely that most of the activity is going to happen from the outside, and I will likely be the defendant of those lawsuits.
Now, Dom, yesterday when we talked about sue me, says Tony Evers. Well, that's not quite the same position.
No, it doesn't seem to. No, I'd have to go back and review the articles, but it seemed very specific. Based on the journalism we read yesterday, that would in fact be the case.
Well, just in case you're wondering, Dom, he has no intention of being a criminal like you or I. Cut 96.
I have no intent of breaking the law.
So,
come on, Tony, just a little.
So if he is right now hamstrung by this legislation, and perhaps one could argue it's unconstitutional. Let's talk about the WEDC appointment, right? This is supposed to be a bigger portion of the executive branch and the legislature. Yeah, okay, so the legislature maybe is doing an unconstitutional power grab in that regard. So say he doesn't like Hogan. I think Hogan's the guy's name there right
Mark
now.
Hogan, yes.
Yeah, WEDC, and he appoints somebody else. Now, he's not going to do that because of this legislation?
No, not going to do that. Going to follow the law. Not going to do anything really bold whatsoever. Just logistically, he'll be the figurehead. You know, Governor Evers et al. He'll just be named in the lawsuit. I mean, is he preparing his wife just in case service comes to the mansion? I'm not sure who he feels like. I really feel like this is a walk back. I think he took a bolder stance with both the Journal-Sentinel and the Wisconsin State Journal yesterday. And it was, in fact, journalists from those two organizations seeking this clarity today. And the clarity was, I'm not going to really do anything. If I get sued, I get sued. And quite frankly, that analogy about getting sued at the DPI, I'm not clear that the Will lawsuit, the Wisconsin Institute for Law and Liberty lawsuits against him offered any clarity as an analogy, because I think he has been both had to, find personal counsel, and then the governor didn't want to give him the right counsel. That really was not an equitable situation to throw out there and say, I'm the governor. The governor always gets sued. So anyways, a little bit disappointing, I got to tell you.
I know, man.
It was a walk back. I thought it was good strategic positioning, force the Republicans to sue me. And instead it's, no, I'm going to comply with the law. There will be no act of conscientious objection.
It's the law. Well, hell, if it's a law, it must be legal, right?
Well, Dom, the one question that was kind of ruminating in my mind, just for your FYI, Paul T., medical cannabis. And the fact that Tony Evers didn't show any inclination that he was going to put that into his budget either. Now, I saw some things I was very proud of. Tony Evers claims he's going to re-extend identification cards to immigrants. Now, that's less than a popular proposition, certainly with the right. He's going to have to fight tooth and nail to get that as part of his budget. But medical cannabis, that is a hugely popular proposition. That is a proposition. Let the people have their medicine, Tony Evers. That's not even a bold position to have to take. But the lack thereof, again, is leaving me wanting for leadership. Put it in the budget, Tony, at least. Medicinal cannabis. Because after I leave one of your press conferences, I need to smoke something or drink something. I'm just telling you. Come back with us. We'll introduce you to Tony Evers, new cabinet secretaries, the governor-elect. Be bold. Be best.
I have no intent of breaking the law.
Who here likes a good story about a bridge?
As humans, we ask ourselves all kinds of questions. But what if we were forced to ask ourselves a question every day that affected the outcome of the most basic things, the most important things in our lives? The question is, what is your sexual orientation or gender identity? And the answer is the difference between keeping your job or getting fired. The answer is the difference between staying in your home or getting evicted. The answer is the difference between receiving medical treatment or not. Because in 31 states, it's legal to discriminate against people based on their answer to this question. LGBT Americans have the right to say I do, but they don't have the same basic rights as everyone else. Get the facts at beyondido.org. Brought to you by the Gill Foundation and the Ad Council.
You are listening to Real Resistance Radio, WRRD 1510 AM Waukesha and WTTN 1580 AM Columbus. Always streaming at realresistanceradio.com.
Do you own a rental property, or would you like to partner with a rental investment team? Call the pros you can trust at CCL Management. Rental expertise second to none, a general contractor on staff to direct repairs and improvements, and real estate brokerage services tailored to the small investor. If you're ready to invest in rental property or just need professionals to manage your real estate portfolio, call us, CCL Management, at 608-833-0009 or visit us on the web at cclmanagement.com.
Have a drink at Regano's Roman Coin. This neighborhood corner tavern is as classic as the street it occupies. Family owned and operated since 1966, Regano's Roman Coin is located in a former Pabst Tide House on historic Brady Street, serving an array of craft beers with a focus on Wisconsin breweries. Also, weekly drink specials, trivia on Wednesdays, seasonal sporting events, parties hosted for all occasions, and pet friendly. Open 11 a.m. Tuesday through Friday, 10 a.m. Saturday and Sunday, closed on Monday. Regano's Roman Coin, Milwaukee's pet friendly, cash only order and classic corner tavern.
On Election Day 2016, Madison lost its only progressive radio station, and I've taken strides every day since to bring Lefty Talk back to my hometown. I'm Crudy, an opinionated devil on the radio, but I'm also Crudy, the entrepreneur and a fiduciary to over 400 clients in their investment in real estate for the last decade. 2 years ago, I put my money where my mouth was, bought and built a radio station in Milwaukee. I've learned hard and expensive lessons, leaving me wiser and uniquely qualified to replicate the effort. I have the license. Now is the time to build an independent 24-hour FM talk radio station in Madison, a durable, rapid response platform that Republicans can't take away with a lame duck. Unique deferral of 2018 cap gains through Opportunity Zone investment possible. Join me, accredited investors. Partner with a fellow progressive. Email crude at darnwi.com. This opportunity subject to an SEC 506C filing.
For Real Resistance Radio, my name is Brian Kelly. Tony Evers announced 5 new appointments at a press conference in Madison today. Emily Amundsen will be the Secretary of the Department of Children and Families, while Peter Barca has been named the Secretary of the Department of Revenue. Evers named Dawn Krim as the Secretary of the Department of Safety and Professional Services. Caleb Frostman will serve as the Secretary of the Department of Workforce Development, and Andrea Palm will have the Department of Health Services.
Even though our state is organized in silos, or as we affectionately call them around here, as cylinders of excellence, the fact of the matter is the leaders that we select have to be able to intuitively connect the dots.
Tonight, clear skies, lows in the upper 20s. Tomorrow, sunshine, highs in the low 40s. Saturday, sunshine, highs in the mid 40s. For Real Resistance Radio, my name is Brian Kelly.
The Devil's Advocates. Political commentary from the back of the class.
Telephone is ringing. You got me on the run.
The phones aren't Rolex. New cabinet secretaries. Now a few old friends in this list, at least one. But let's, first and foremost, let's go with Amundsen. Dom, do you have her first name? I'm sorry, I don't have the source article.
Emil Amundsen, Department of Children and Families, currently Chief of Staff at the Wisconsin Department of Public Instruction. Previously served as the Director of Literacy and Mathematics. Also served as an English language arts consultant for DPI, and before that as an English educator and school founder in New York City.
Now, she described her children as littles. I like that. They're littles. And she talks about the village that helps her raise her own children. Let's share a little of the sound new. What's her title again, Dom? I'm sorry.
She is the Department of Children and Families.
Here she is, Emil Amundsen. Play it for the people. Cut 82, Fancy Brian.
Governor-elect.
Yes.
We've worked together for over a decade, and in that time I've been lucky to learn from you. A leader whose North Star is guided by collaboration, common ground, and connection making. Your cabinet is shaping up to be fertile ground for this kind of leadership, and I could not be more excited to serve.
Now, the new Department of Children and Family Secretary, she put a lot of emphasis on the children. Let's keep playing the sound. Cut 83, if you would, Fancy.
DCF will continue to support a talented pool of early childhood professionals and elevate this critical profession, guided by the Early Childhood Advisory Council recommendations. Without our village, I'm not sure how we could have gotten through the past 6 years as working parents. For others with challenges or hurdles far greater than ours, this village is even more critical.
And finally, the new cabinet secretary at the Department of Children and Families, Emil Amundsen, had this to say, cut 84.
Villages, they become like families, and at DCF, we'll ensure the definition of family reflects, whenever possible, the village each of us uses to balance our lives, our needs, and our personal growth. Each of our villages may look a little different, and at DCF, we'll continue to innovate, create, and prioritize programs and opportunities that help families in both short and long-term ways.
Now, was she just buzzwording, Dom, because it takes a village? Wasn't that Hillary Clinton's book?
Yeah, I believe it was a long time ago.
Now, the Assembly Minority Leader, Peter Barca, this man, a distinguished politician in his own right, his new assignment, Dom, is the Department of Revenue. Peter Barca needs very little introduction, but here he is, the newest cabinet nominee, Peter Barca, cut 85.
My priorities as a legislator have always been economic development, helping to stimulate family-supporting jobs, expand the middle class, and assist small business growth. And the State Revenue Department plays a critical role in all these aspects, and I believe we can help attain these goals in this department.
You know, I hate to be critical, but small business growth, is that why you voted for $4.5 billion for Foxconn? Peter Barca? What are you talking about?
I like Peter. I've been a little critical of Peter as well on that topic.
Would you give $4.5 billion to small businesses in the state of Wisconsin? And it wasn't he also, and just to dig up some old history here, Crudy, back in the day when we were down at the Wisconsin Capitol covering the Solidarity Sing-Along arrests, wasn't he one of the Democrats who were like, oh, God, get him out of here? Well, he wasn't, like, really supportive of that continual protest, was he?
I'm not clear what his stance was.
So we stopped by his office. That's all I remember. Yeah.
Sing-along participation. I don't recall specifically, although I know that's an issue near and dear to you and I. We were both arrested. I for singing, you for media
taking
reporting
pictures
that others had been arrested. But Peter Barca, when I saw him at a press conference, it's been some years now because it was about the Bucks Arena, and that thing's been built now. But I remember asking Peter Barca why he would go along, why he would allow Dems, and why, as a caucus, they would go along with the public financing of the Bucks Arena, the $250 million. And it's not that I'm against the Bucks Arena. It's been a wonderful development for Milwaukee. Drive past it many days as I'm coming into the studio. The problem I have is that the public was on the hook, and we didn't have to be. The Menominee Indian tribe offered $250 million. Would have taken the taxpayers completely off the hook. $25-30 million in annualized revenue, again, coming from the gaming. And Scott Walker said, no, I don't want to do it that way.
I'm running for president.
Let's put the taxpayers, let's put the people of Wisconsin on the hook. And the only way that got done was with Democratic votes. And I asked Peter Barca, why would you do that? Why would you not hold out? Why would you not say, I'm not voting for this unless you do that? And he looked at me in all sincerity and said, well, Mike, that'd be log rolling, and that's illegal in the state of Wisconsin. And you know us good Dems, Don, we don't break the law, apparently.
One more from Peter Barca, if you would, Brian, cut 86.
So thrilled with the platform that he put forward, not the least of which is trying to provide tax relief to the middle class, but also to try to provide greater customer service to all people. In the Regulatory Fairness Commission, we try to make it easier for small businesses to comply with regulations. We'll try to do the same thing here to help all Wisconsin organizations to be able to comply and all taxpayers.
Small businesses comply with regulation? Hell, man, why don't we just give them all the WEDC deal? They don't have to comply with jack, right? Oh, no, that's, wait. And if I may here, the Tony Evers press release, Peter Barca, Department of Revenue, currently serves as state rep for the 64th AD, lifelong citizen of Kenosha and Summers, previously served in the U.S. House of Representatives, and as the Midwest Regional Administrator for the SBA during the Clinton administration. Also served on the WEDC board, where he helped advance major business developments, including the 2 new Amazon distribution centers in Kenosha. Now, what's missing from that description?
Foxconn and his vote therefore.
Come on, man. Foxconn missing it, right? Was Foxconn voted on after he left WEDC? Is he still at WEDC?
You know, that's an interesting point because it might have been after he left WEDC. I forget specifically what forced him off that board. I would say it was his caucus. And let's not forget, he did give up the minority leader position.
Yeah.
All things equal, I like Peter Barca.
I do too. I think he's a nice man. I just wonder about some of these issues.
As do I, Dom, and that's why we're here, and that's why I went to the old press conference this morning, because somebody had a question Foxconn? I'm not quite sure. I didn't ask any questions. My bad.
What, Crudy? Normally you get the last one. You shut it down.
There were multiple reporters trying to ask questions today, and I'm like, I'm not feeling so well anyways. I'm kind of under the weather. I'm worried about my car. I didn't even plug the meter outside. My head was elsewhere. Sorry, Paul Trotter. Dom, another new cabinet secretary, this one, the Department of Safety and Professional Services, her name, Dawn Krim. And we've got a little sound of Dawn Krim and her goals for the department. Fancy Brian, cut 87.
The Department of Safety and Professional Services mission is to promote economic growth and stability while protecting the citizens of Wisconsin. I look forward to carrying out that mission and ensuring the safe and competent practice of licensed professionals by valuing the skills that Wisconsinites bring to those professions and across the state. I want them to know that we see you and we value you.
One more from Dawn Krim, Department of Safety and Professional Services. And just a small footnote, Dom, a former Wisconsin Badger assistant female basketball coach. And one other footnote, Dom, she could so dunk on you.
It wouldn't take much.
Significantly taller than the governor-elect. She looked about 6'4", tall woman, Dawn Krim. One more soundbite from her, cut 88.
As well as working with Edgewood College as a Board of Trustee member on their Building and Grounds Committee, and then, of course, working at DPI, who gave me my true entry into state government. And the exemplary way that they've done their work, they've shown me how state employees do their work. So I'm looking forward to doing the work alongside other state employees, because at DPI, we were grounded in equity, and I will be taking that message to the Department of Professional Services and Safety.
So 2 new cabinet-level appointments coming out of Tony Evers' Department of Public Instruction. Now, if they were Republicans and this was Scott Walker, I'd say a couple of crony appointments. I'm just saying.
Well, you go with what you know, right? You got to pick from the talented pool of people from maybe you have personal experience. But, Governor Walker was never in charge of any organization like DPI. He wouldn't have the opportunity. What you going to do? Get a couple people in from the Friars when he worked at McDonald's back in the day? What was his experience prior to? And of course, Walker does do the crony appointments. We'll talk about the Wisconsin Supreme Court perhaps later. But yeah, sure, he's bringing a couple from the home team. I get it.
Okay, now here's Caleb Frostman. He currently a senator. Now he won the special election. He lost in the midterm elections to Andre Jack. Very galling, because this guy is very capable. At least that was my opinion. At least you can't accuse him of being a Madison or a Milwaukee Dem. Caleb Frostman, cut 89.
I started my professional career in Milwaukee, and I currently call Sturgeon Bay home. And I counted, I won't listen, but I counted, I have occupied deer stands in at least 14 counties in the state of Wisconsin. So,
I like that you got a deer hunting story in. You're serving in the cabinet in the state of Wisconsin. There are many that, I think he threw out a good story. One more from Caleb Frostman. His position, Dom, what is he? Economic Development.
Department of Workforce Development.
DWD. Okay, so when the jobs numbers come out,
he'll be the guy. I'll be holding
find
up.
Out whether or not Caleb Frostman will be putting the spin on them, picking the cherries, if you will. More Caleb Frostman, cut 90.
And specifically with workforce development, I really look forward to the challenge of harnessing the power of DWD to increase the capacity of all Wisconsinites to enter the workforce, to stay in the workforce, and just as importantly, advance within it. And as we work to position Wisconsin to excel in this economy of the future, I think it's pretty obvious that winning the war on talent, or the war for talent, not on talent, war for talent, will be a determining factor. And I believe that with the right priorities, with strong execution, and the diverse perspectives brought forward by this administrative team, Wisconsin can and will be victorious.
Now, one more, and this one an out-of-state hire, if you will, Dom. Someone coming over from the Obama administration, her name, Andrea Palm. Palm was a senior counselor to the Secretary of the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services under President Barack Obama from 2014 to 2017. Before that, she worked for 5 years as a health policy advisor to then U.S. Senator Hillary Clinton. Between the villages and the prior Clinton employees that Tony Evers is putting on the cabinet. I think there's a lot of Hillary love going on, at least today in Madison at the Tommy Thompson Center. Let's play a little sound. Now, first and foremost, I gotta bring it up. I was standing next to a couple of the media people, and the first thing she did, the new cabinet appointment from outside the state of Wisconsin, she mispronounced the boss's name.
Evers.
She
corrected it fairly quickly, though.
Yes, but the communications people that were in my periphery, they were mortified. I mean, I bet they'd been coaching her all morning, like Evers. First words out of her mouth. Thank you, Governor-elect Evers. Let's play it for the people.
We would never mispronounce someone's last name, right, Mike?
I have never gotten a name wrong. I feel like 60% confident. Let's play it for the people. Andrea Palm, over from the Obama administration, now working for Tony Evers in the great state of Wisconsin, Cut 91.
Your vision to improve access to health care coverage, address rising costs, and invest in prevention and wellness are critical priorities that Wisconsinites expect us to tackle and to solve.
Okay, two more. Cut 92, if you would. Fancy Brian.
These are issues that touch all of us. We all have family members, friends, and colleagues who have pre-existing conditions, who have difficulty affording their prescriptions, or who live in rural areas that lack a dentist or an OBGYN or essential behavioral health treatment programs. These are among the most pressing issues that Wisconsin families face, and they hit closest to home.
One more, Andrea Palm, the new, at least the designee, for Cabinet Secretary at the Health Department for Tony Evers, played for the people, Cut 93.
But they are also issues that are fundamental to the success of each of our communities and the state as a whole. Healthy children come to school ready to learn and to thrive. Healthy adults make for a more productive workforce and more successful farms and businesses. And healthy adults make for healthier seniors, who in turn are able to remain in their homes and communities and sustain the quality of life they expect and deserve.
So there you go. There are the new cabinet secretaries, or at least the nominees there of Tony Evers. And last quick thought, Dom, as I was leaving this press conference, a little nervous. You got something quick?
No, go ahead. Finish your thought.
Worried about my parking meter that I hadn't plugged running out and that there's no time on it. You know, it'd be an expensive ticket for the quarter I saved. So I'm thinking I got to get out to the car. But Peter Barca came by, shook his hand, and Tony Evers ambled by shortly thereafter. Did not shake Tony's hand. He didn't extend it. I didn't offer mine. But he walked over to his new cabinet secretary, Department of Revenue, and said there will be a special election soon. So apparently not taking the Walker tack that he can, hold out?
Right.
Doesn't want it.
We'll just wait till 2020.
We just had elections.
Right.
You know, I hate to say, but over on the assembly side, math being what it is, doesn't matter.
Crudy, Fox6now.com, October 31st, 2017. Dana Wachs replaces Peter Barca on the WEDC board. He'd been the Assembly Minority Leader. His fellow Democrats ousted him from the leadership role because he supported Walker's $3 billion incentive package for Foxconn. That wasn't mentioned on the Evers presser.
So that cost him the Assembly Minority Leader position and his position on the WEDC board. But, you know, Tony took care of him. He's going to be a cabinet secretary, Department of Revenue anyways. Best wishes, Peter Barca and all the new cabinet secretaries. Come back with us. More Devil's Advocates. Phone lines open, 844-967-2789.
They hire usually good people.
I think they're just stupid. I think they're idiots.
Bye, Felicia.
Brad Zog, owner of Zero Res Madison, resisting dirty carpets and harsh chemicals. Brad, why should people use Zero Res Madison?
Why wouldn't you clean your carpets like this? We're not using any soaps. We're not using any chemicals. We cost about the same as the other guys. You look at it and you go, where's the downside? You got a completely green clean. That's awesome. We guarantee it. There's no downside.
There's no downside. Use Zero Res. Call Zero Res today. 608-848-9000. Zero Res. Spell it forward or backward. It's the right way to clean. For over 2 decades, Linda Smallpage, owner of Boutique Photographer, has been the woman behind the lens creating images of Milwaukee area families and business owners. Specializing in photographing people, she is uniquely talented at capturing character. Published in Milwaukee Magazine with 38 full pages of her work on the faces of Milwaukee, she's also featured as a successful Milwaukee portrait photographer. Located in Whitefish Bay, Linda offers studio and location work throughout southeast Wisconsin for commercial headshots, brand imaging, business portfolio, nonprofits, and playful family portraits. Visit boutiquephotographer.com to connect with your Milwaukee photographer, Linda Small page, or look for her link in our sponsor page. Boutique Photographer, photographing people at work, play, and in love, and sometimes dogs. To book your photo shoot or for more information, go to boutiquephotographer.com. That's boutiquephotographer.com. Tell her Real Resistance Radio sent you.
All workers benefit from unions, as unions create the highest standard in wages, health and welfare, retirement security, and workplace protections. Hello, this is Tom Bennett, President of Teamsters General Local 200. Your voice is your strength. The ability to build a stronger and better tomorrow begins today. Teamsters Local 200 represents workers in numerous industries, and our team is ready to sit down with you and your co-workers to build your unified team. Call Teamsters Local 200 at 414-771-6363 or visit us on Facebook or www.teamsterslocal200.com.
60% of the time, they're right every time. Dom and Krutz are the Devil's Advocates.
And we are back. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show on Real Resistance Radio, streaming on the YouTube and Facebook pages. We are on Twitter at Devil Radio. You can join us on the phones, toll-free, talk, or text 844-967-2789.
Dominic, so the newsworthiness of the Tony Evers press conference this morning, twofold at least. One, when Tony said, "Sue me," he just meant as the figurehead of the state of Wisconsin. He wasn't going to take any bold strategic action to push back on the lame duck. Don't want you to get the impression he might break a law or do anything illegal. Anyways, I thought that was a less strategic choice. And above and beyond that, Peter Barca, and at that time he told me yes, he had. And when you see Peter Barca joining the cabinet at the Department of Revenue, and Peter Barca lost his position with the caucus, lost the confidence of his, Democratic Assembly caucus members, well, one must guess that Tony Evers is in some way, shape, or form at least tipping the hat to Foxconn, acknowledging that this is something we're going forward with as a state. And maybe I read too much into these cabinet appointments, but the fact that Peter Barca is on the cabinet and, supremely qualified to be on the cabinet, no doubt there. That's not the issue. But when you got Robin Vos saying, hey, he's the right guy for this job, and no offense, Peter, I have no doubt, I got friends across the aisle, but it's Peter Barca's embrace of Foxconn that makes me very nervous that perhaps Tony Evers is also embracing Foxconn, because he'd hate to do anything that created ripples in the waters, Tom.
Ripples in the water? I mean, this is a fraud perpetuated by the Republicans. They gave the Legislative Fiscal Bureau, I believe, who does the analysis, a bunch of garbage input to come up with a payday of like 25 years from now that doesn't include the time value of money. We will never, if all things come to fruition, 13,000 jobs, $4.5 billion, if all the predictions come true, it will bust the state. We will never make our money back on this deal. If anything, how about this, Evers administration? Do a new study. Let's find out what we're really talking about before you continue. And I don't know where you're at. I know you haven't really said, no, you're going to reject it entirely. But I think this is a bust. Economists all over this country think this is a bust. We, not to sound like Trump, but we're suckers when you listen to what some of these other folks who are in the industry of analyzing what is good, sound business, governmental practice, engaging in this economic development, $4.5 billion to a supremely profitable foreign corporation. And Apple's tanking today, their biggest client. Hell, the market was down like 600 earlier. I don't know about now. But demand in China, 600 and almost 650 right now. Primarily, certainly China has some economic issues. Apple is feeling the heat from that, and therefore so will Foxconn. I just don't know why we don't have at least an honest conversation about real numbers and real impact for this deal in the state of Wisconsin, especially now that we have a Democratic administration.
Dom, this headline may not have any relevance whatsoever. Rick Rommel reporting at the Journal-Sentinel. Well-known PR man Evan Zeppos ends work with Foxconn. Well-known public relations man Evan Zeppos said Thursday that he is no longer representing Foxconn Technology Group, responding to an inquiry about the company's recent purchase of a building in Racine. Dom, Zeppos said by email, "I resigned my representation of Foxconn effective January 1st, 2019, and I no longer work with them." He declined to say anything further. The company was not immediately available for comment, apparently because their PR guy just quit. Zeppos, a principal and senior public affairs advisor for Michael Best Strategies, Dom, began working with Foxconn several months ago. He remains with Michael Best.
Come on, let's have some real numbers. Let's recrunch the numbers with some actual inputs and see what the year payoff really is, and let's talk about it. I get
so
it.
What? I
it's
mean,
a big opportunity, but let's be real about it, man.
That's not going to end the deal. That might give you the information of how bad we, the taxpayers, got screwed, and for how many years, and I would say basically until infinity. But that in and of itself, that information, Dom, doesn't give you an out clause. You need to sue. You need to get into the federal courts.
You need to get public support to sue. You're not going to get that unless you have actual numbers to show that this thing is going to
You need a
bust.
good attorney to sue. You don't need the public support to sue. Go show some leadership. You just got hired to be the new governor.
Everybody
of the
thinks
state of
this thing
Wisconsin.
pays off in 25 years, Crudy. It's a falsehood, man.
Nobody thinks it pays off in 25 years.
Ask every Republican you know.
They all perpetrate the lie, but that doesn't mean they believe it. Come back with us. We are the Devil's Advocates. You can believe me. I always tell the truth, to the best of my knowledge. Come back. More Devils. Phone lines open, 844-967-2789.
What does the fox say? Pay me my money.
Thank you, Mr. Foxon.
Brad Zog, owner of Zero Res Madison. Brad, why should people use Zero Res Madison?
Why wouldn't you clean your carpets like this? We've got a patented system. We also do another step that most people don't do. We have a double rotating brush machine that we use when we pre-treat the carpet. So this helps dig up any of that stuff that's deeper in your carpet that the vacuum doesn't get. We're going to provide that intermediary step before we clean with our empowered water.
Call Zero Res today, 608-848-9000. Zero Res. Spell it forward or backward. It's the right way to clean.
Do you own a rental property, or would you like to partner with a rental investment team? Call the pros you can trust at CCL Management. Rental expertise second to none, a general contractor on staff to direct repairs and improvements, and real estate brokerage services tailored to the small investor. If you're ready to invest in rental property or just need professionals to manage your real estate portfolio, call us, CCL Management, at 608-833-0009 or visit us on the web at cclmanagement.com.
You are listening to Real Resistance Radio, WRRD 1510 AM Waukesha and WTTN 1580 AM Columbus. Always streaming at realresistanceradio.com.
The new Congress, same government shutdown. I'm Mike Moss. The 116th Congress in U.S. history has been sworn in. Mitch McConnell remains leader of the Senate Republicans, and Nancy Pelosi has been elected Speaker of the House.
We must be champions of the middle class and all those who aspire to it, because the middle class is the backbone of our democracy.
More from correspondent Linda Kenyon on Capitol Hill.
The total number of votes cast is 430, of which the Honorable Nancy Pelosi of the state of California has received 220.
Nancy Pelosi, who became the first woman Speaker of the House in 2007, takes back the gavel for a second time as she gains the majority of the votes in the House. Pelosi faces significant challenges ahead. First and foremost, she must be a guiding hand that will help end the current partial government shutdown. Pelosi also must prevail over the legislative agenda of the new House of Representatives, which will include issues like health care, the deficit, and several investigations. Linda Kenyon, Capitol Hill.
Pope Francis is blaming U.S. Catholic bishops for their handling of the sexual abuse crisis. We get more from correspondent Steve Kastenbaum.
Francis blasted bishops for disunity and finger-pointing, saying it led to mistrust and pain among Catholics. While the Pope was critical of American bishops, he also offered encouragement while telling them to root their responses to the abuse crisis in Scripture.
Presidential economic advisor Kevin Hassett says the future of the economy is linked to China trade.
When we settle the trade issues with China, then people will go back to focusing on the long-run growth that, absolutely is going to return to probably even a higher level once we fix this problem with China.
Stocks dropped sharply today after Apple warned it will badly miss its quarterly sales forecast because of the China trade war. The Dow down 659. I'm Mike Moss.
Hi, Resistance Radio listeners. This is Kim Schrader, the president of the Milwaukee Teachers Education Association. We are the 4,600 educators who make Milwaukee's public education system possible. MTA members are the guardians of public education because every single day we are fighting to strengthen and protect public schools our students deserve. MTA educators are leading the fight in Milwaukee public schools for smaller class sizes, more recess, physical education, art, and music opportunities for every child in MPS. MTA educators are the champions for healthier school meals, positive discipline practices, equitable schools, and schools that partner with parents. MTA members are the guardians of public education, and we are proud to teach all children, regardless of their zip code. To learn more, follow us on Facebook at the Milwaukee Teachers Education Association.
Authorities in Texas continue to search for the shooter in a drive-by shooting that killed a 7-year-old girl.
Police believe the shooting was random, but won't speculate on a motive. The suspect's described as a white man in his 40s. While investigators focus on catching a killer, a community honors a girl remembered as sweet and innocent.
Just a wonderful young angel, with a full life ahead of her.
Harris County Sheriff Ed Gonzalez says his department is dedicated to finding the killer. Reward money in the killing has reached $100,000, and a community rally is planned for Saturday. Houston Texans wide receiver DeAndre Hopkins tweeted an image of Jasmine and pledged to donate his check from this weekend's playoff game to help the family with funeral expenses. I'm Clayton Neville.
California Democratic Senator Dianne Feinstein tells reporters she would support former Vice President Joe Biden in a 2020 presidential race, but he hasn't decided whether to run. I'm Mike Moss.
5/9, your local single-source IT solutions provider, specializing in cloud technology, consulting, servers, networks, and hosting. We manage your IT so you can focus on running your business. Enjoy technology. Enjoy 59s.com.
Knowing your breasts can save your life. Go to knowyourgirls.org for the facts you need on breast health. Brought to you by Susan G. Komen and the Ad Council.
Listening to the Devil's Advocates may expose you to opposing views.
U.S. Senator Ron Johnson joins us on the phone regarding our military influence. Aren't we selling arms right now to Saudi Arabia, and aren't they using, munitions that they have purchased from us in their war?
And if we weren't doing that, because they've got plenty of money, they'll buy less precise munitions from other people, and the bloodshed would be worse.
Well, the blood might be on someone else's hands then, Ron.
I'm going to talk to you about that, Ron.
For Real Resistance Radio, my name is Brian Kelly. Tony Evers announced 5 new appointments at a press conference in Madison today, including Andrea Palm to head the Department of Health Services. Palm served as senior counselor to the Secretary of the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services under the Obama administration from 2014 to 17, working on implementation of the Affordable Care Act.
Healthy children come to school ready to learn and to thrive. Healthy adults make for a more productive workforce and more successful farms and businesses. And healthy adults make for healthier seniors, who in turn are able to remain in their homes and communities and sustain the quality of life they expect and deserve.
Tonight, clear skies, lows in the upper 20s. Tomorrow, sunshine, highs in the low 40s. Saturday, sunshine, highs in the mid 40s. For Real Resistance Radio, my name is Brian Kelly.
Warning, you are about to listen to the greatest radio show ever. And due to contractual obligations and to shield our airwaves corporate licensees from any semblance of liability, responsibility, and gullibility, we must tell you the views represented on this show are not necessarily those of this station or its management. This radio show contains differing points of view on current political topics, and due to the nature of its contents, it should be heard by everyone. Thank you for listening.
3, 2, 1.
Now live from the heart of liberal Wisconsin, where the political party is just beginning, welcome to the Devil's Advocate Show. Best friends proving it's never personal, only politics.
Please allow me to introduce myself.
Now here are your hosts, Dom and Crute.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show. Dominic, I think only appropriate to welcome back the Speaker of the House of Representatives. It is a fine day indeed. Nancy Pelosi once again has got her gavel, Dom.
Speaker of the House once again. An Italian woman. You got to wonder what these Republicans are thinking. Here we go again. What did Pelosi's daughter say yesterday?
She'd cut off your head. You wouldn't even know you were bleeding.
Yep, something like that.
Dom, quickly, she won the gavel back, although 15 deserters on the Democratic side didn't win unanimous support amongst her caucus. But she still won, and she still got her gavel, and she is still the once and future queen. And Jennifer Rubin writes this today: Speaker Pelosi should inspire Americans and terrify Trump cronies. I'm going to read a bit from this piece, Dom. On Wednesday, her last day as minority leader, Rep. Nancy Pelosi commented on her meeting with the president and the game plan for Thursday, the first day of the new Congress. Here's a quote. "We will bring to the floor legislation which will open up government. It will be based on the actions taken by the Republican Senate," Pelosi, the incoming speaker, said. "Bills that have passed on the floor of the Senate by over 90 votes and or in committee unanimously, led by Senator Mitch McConnell," she added. "It will also present any separate bill. The bill that Mr. McConnell did for the continuing resolution for the Homeland Security bill until February 8th, using his exact date. We have given the Republicans a chance to say yes for an answer," she reiterated. "We have taken their proposals, unamended by any House bipartisan amendments, but just staying true to what the Senate has already done." I mean, that's very strategic. See how that's done, Tony Evers? I read on it. For McConnell and Senate Republicans, the problem could not be more plain. What is their rationale for refusing to pass the House version of the Senate's own bill and instead perpetuate an unpopular shutdown drummed up to get an unpopular wall ? McConnell will once more, in all probability, reiterate the lowly status to which the Senate has sunk under his leadership. If President Trump won't sign it, or says he won't, the Senate, apparently now a subcommittee of the White House, won't even put it to a vote. There could hardly be a more emphatic statement of the Senate's irrelevance and irresponsibility. And if he doesn't pass his own bill, batted back into his court by Pelosi, McConnell will be in quite a pickle. In parenthetical, she writes, "We have given the Republicans a chance to take yes for an answer," she pointed out after Democratic leaders met with the president. You know, just a little reminder from Rubin. McConnell's members will get antsy, yet he cannot very well make a counter offer for fear that Trump will undercut him, as the president did with the original continuing resolution. McConnell really is at the beck and call of Trump, who doesn't seem to know what he wants or how to get it. A cagier Senate leader would pass Pelosi's bill, send it to the president for a likely veto, and see whether his members overrode the veto. If they do, Trump and McConnell can blame squishy Republicans and the Democrats. Unfortunately, McConnell isn't likely to put Trump or his own members on the spot. The transfer of power in about 2 hours, well, it's happened now, Dom, should inspire confidence among Americans and fear among Trump cronies and sycophants. Pelosi remains the only female speaker, is the first speaker since Sam Rayburn to reclaim the gavel after losing it, and therefore claims the title of the most formidable Democrat currently on the stage, and ranks among the top tier of speakers from either party. She has reached higher than any other female politician. Moreover, she will now preside over a House with the power of the purse, of oversight, and of impeachment, Dom.
It is her day insofar as she will have the ears and eyes of the press, if not the entire country, riveted on her as she tells the country, in effect, help has arrived. She need only control her own members, those freshmen are about to learn how much power the Speaker really has, to shift the onus of the shutdown to the Senate and the White House. The same is true of efforts to shore up the Affordable Care Act and pass ethics reform. As Pelosi plunks down bill after bill in front of McConnell and Trump, she'll be able to say, we're doing our job, why aren't they? McConnell and Trump better come up with something better than the president's gusher of lies. Sorry, getting taxpayers to pay for a wall he said Mexico would fund is not keeping a campaign promise, she says. Exaggerations such as there aren't 30 to 35 million illegal immigrants in the United States, as he claims, and insults. For the first time, he's going to face a consummate politician capable of running circles around him. 2019 should be a fascinating year in politics.
Dom, briefly from thehill.com, Mike Lillis, and you can always join us. What's your opinion? Speaker Nancy Pelosi. Now, I think that title has grown upon me once again, Dom. I like the way this woman operates. I like a woman who's not afraid to cut your head off just to watch you bleed, apparently. And that's her own family saying it about her. That's her daughter. House elects Pelosi to second speakership, according to thehill.com. Rep. Nancy Pelosi on Thursday seized the speaker's gavel for the second time in a dozen years, making a historic return to power for the nation's first female speaker and ushering in what promises to be a new era of oversight. God, that word's been missing from the vocabulary for too long, Dom. Oversight for President Trump and his administration. Pelosi won the speakership in a 220 to 192 vote over Rep. Kevin McCarthy, the House Minority Leader. 12 Democrats voted for candidates other than Pelosi, who worked to crush a Democratic insurgency that initially appeared to threaten her speakership bid. 6 Republicans voted against McCarthy. 3 Democrats, Reps. Jim Cooper, Alyssa Slotkin, and Jeff Van Drew, voted present. That's what you used to say in class, right, Tom? Present.
Here.
Pelosi, 78, agrees to limit her new speakership to a maximum of 4 years. 4 years? Hell, man, if they want her to be speaker forever, let her be. But I read on. To a maximum of 4 years in order to win over some critics within her party. That concession brought a handful of Pelosi's early critics to her side on Thursday's vote, assuring her rise to speakership. Pelosi had spent weeks corralling Democratic support with the idea that she would need 218 votes, a majority of the full chamber, to secure the Speaker's gavel. In fact, the number was lower than that due to the absence of Rep. Walter Jones, Republican from North Carolina, who's fighting an illness. The 3 present votes on the Democratic side in one outstanding race, North Carolina's 9th district, still to be called, that fraudulent race in North Carolina, Dom. Those dynamics lowered the threshold Pelosi required, since House rules dictate that an elected speaker needs a simple majority of lawmakers who are in the chamber on the floor and vote for an individual, a guideline that excludes present votes and vacancies. And in accepting the post, Pelosi vowed to work across the aisle when possible, but also to fight for Democratic priorities when necessary on issues as varied as health care, income disparity, immigration, and climate change. One last thought here, Dom. Voters want a Congress that delivers results for the people, opening up an opportunity and lifting up lives, Pelosi said in her prepared remarks distributed to reporters before the vote.
We have
After
some
the
sound.
Vote, they didn't need the transcripts, right, Dom?
We have
a little sound.
Some sound of the new Speaker Pelosi. Brian,
We got her banging that gavel. Bam, bam, bam.
Well done, sir. Thanks for grabbing this. Let's start with Pelosi. Thank you to McCarthy, 129.
Thank you, Kevin McCarthy, for your leadership. I look forward to working with you. Congratulations on being the leader of the party.
Oh, very cordial. Let's keep going, Pelosi.
I'm particularly proud to be the woman Speaker of the House of this Congress, which marks the 100th year of women having the right to vote.
And I understand there's over 100 women in the House as well. That's a great milestone. Certainly shameful to think of that, but hell, that was 100 years ago. Let's keep going. The fight for thank you to the veterans, 131.
Whose service reminds us of our mission to make the future worthy of their sacrifice. To our men and women in uniform.
And on the middle class, Speaker Pelosi.
We must fight for the middle class that is fair and fiscally sound, protecting Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security.
And the new speaker has comments on the climate science.
The entire Congress must work to put an end to the inaction and denial of science that threaten the planet and the future.
And a shutdown vote scheduled.
Democrats will be offering the Senate Republican appropriations legislation to reopen government later today.
And Speaker Pelosi quoting Reagan on immigration.
He said, if we ever close the door to new Americans, our leadership role in the world will soon be lost. Ronald Reagan.
And it is the People's House, 136.
Together, we will let it be known that this House will truly be the people's house.
Let's keep going.
Let us pray that God may bless our work and crown our good with brotherhood and sisterhood from sea to shining sea.
Welcome to our house. It's a Democratic house. It's a blue house. Hell, it's Nancy Pelosi's house. Once again, she's got the gavel.
On the last Pelosi cut today.
I now call the House to order on behalf of all of America's children. Go kids!
Is that a little pot shot at Donald Trump?
Speaker Pelosi taking over in the House. This will be an interesting year, no doubt about it. What'd they say, though, Crudy? Said a 4-year max. She won't serve more than 4 years as Speaker.
That is what she's saying. I did just check Donald J. Trump's Twitter stream. No acknowledgement of the new Speaker, but a little misogyny and a little, what? He's got a Warren 1/2020th. Put that one out there 5 hours ago, and then about an hour ago, he's got a build that wall video on his Twitter stream. No acknowledgement of the Speaker of the House. Dom, I understand they're going to meet tomorrow at the White House once again. Nancy Pelosi will already have passed legislation that would reopen the government, and Donald Trump's going to sit there with a thumb up his ass and just wonder what happened.
Oh,
Nancy
hell.
Pelosi's going to cut his head off just to watch him bleed.
She should cut his hair off, but he said yesterday, the reporting I saw on CNN, stating that if he accepted the deal, he'd look foolish.
He already looks foolish.
So
And just remember,
what do you got to lose, Trump?
If Trump goes to prison someday, they have no Aquanet there. He has what's left of his good looks and good hair. He'd lose those badly. Come back with us. More Devil's Advocates. Don't want to lose you, our fair audience.
The Republicans are dilly-dallying, taking their good old time. Maybe they just don't believe in governance.
We became a pretty good governing party.
This is like bowl of doggy-doo. Put a cherry on top and call it a chocolate sundae.
She would not be my first choice, that I can tell you.
You can do it! Cut his f***ing head off!
Brad Zog, owner of Zero Res Madison, resisting dirty carpets and harsh chemicals. Brad, why should people use Zero Res Madison?
Why wouldn't you clean your carpets like this? We're not using any soaps. We're not using any chemicals. We cost about the same as the other guys. You look at it and you go, where's the downside? You got a completely green clean. That's awesome. We guarantee it. There's no downside.
There's no downside. Use Zero Res. Call Zero Res today. 608-848-9000. Zero Res. Spell it forward or backward. It's the right way to clean.
Here in the Badger State, we have our own expressions. When we're looking to go on vacation, we state, well, let's go up north. Hello, this is Tom Bennett, president of Teamsters Local 200. Here in the Badger State, we also have another expression, union yes. The strength of the labor movement depends on elected officials here in Wisconsin and Washington, D.C. that support the values of working families that raise the standards for all. Give us a call at Teamsters Local 200 at 414-771-6363 or visit our website at www.teamsterslocal200.com or on Facebook at Teamsters Local 200. Be engaged.
On Election Day 2016, Madison lost its only progressive radio station, and I've taken strides every day since to bring lefty talk back to my hometown. I'm Crudy, an opinionated devil on the radio, but I'm also Crudy, the entrepreneur and a fiduciary to over 400 clients and their investment in real estate for the last decade. 2 years ago, I put my money where my mouth was, bought and built a radio station in Milwaukee. I've learned hard and expensive lessons, leaving me wiser and uniquely qualified to replicate the effort. I have the license. Now is the time to build an independent 24-hour FM talk radio station in Madison, a durable, rapid response platform that Republicans can't take away with a lame duck. Unique deferral of 2018 cap gains through Opportunity Zone investment possible. Join me, accredited investors, partner with a fellow progressive. Email crude@darnwi.com. This opportunity subject to an SEC 506C filing.
The Devil's Advocates, radio for nasty women everywhere.
And we are back. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show. You can call us at 844-967-2789.
Dom, I know we've got Dave from Mequon Holding, and you've got to be patient for a few more minutes, Dave, because I posted an article, and this one was for you. You talked about Elizabeth Warren yesterday. The Atlantic. There's a reason many voters have negative views of Warren, but the press won't tell you why, but the Devil's Advocates will. The media have focused on her comparatively low approval ratings, but not the misogyny that drives them. Read enough news reports about Elizabeth Warren's declaration that she is running for president, and you notice certain comment features in its story on her announcement. I said I was going to be confident at this reading. In its story on her announcement, the New York Times noted Warren has become a favorite target of conservatives, and that in a recent national poll, only about 30% of respondents viewed her favorably, with 37% holding an unfavorable view. The Washington Post observed that Warren's claim that she was a Native American has come under relentless attack from Republican opponents. It also quoted a Boston Globe editorial. You listening? You listening, Dave? A Boston Globe editorial that called Warren a divisive figure. On CNN, the election analyst Harry Inton suggested that Warren's very liberal record, combined with the fact that Donald Trump has already gone after her, has made her a, you guessed it, divisive figure whose favorable ratings are not that high. Those observations are factually correct, but they also help create a false narrative, mentioning the right's attacks on Warren plus her low approval ratings while citing her very liberal record and the controversy surrounding her alleged Native American heritage implies a casual relationship between these facts. Warren is a lefty who has made controversial ancestral claims. Ergo, Republicans attack her, and many Americans don't like her very much. But that question is misleading. The better explanation for why Warren attracts disproportionate conservative criticism and has disproportionately high disapproval ratings has nothing to do with her progressive economic views or her dalliance with DNA testing. It's that she's a woman. As I've noted before, women's ambition provokes far more negative reaction than men's. For a 2010 article in the Personality and Social Psychology Bulletin, two Yale professors, Victoria Breskel and Tyler Akamoto, showed identical fictional biographies of two state senators, one male, one female, to participants in a study. When they added quotations to the biography that characterized each as ambitious and possessing a strong will to power, the male state senator grew more popular. But the female state senator not only lost support among both men and women, but also provoked moral outrage. The past decade of American politics has illustrated Breskel and Okamoto's findings again and again. During the 2012 campaign, Republicans attacked Nancy Pelosi. Pelosi's detractors sometimes chalk up her unpopularity to her liberalism in her hometown of San Francisco, but Reid's successor as the Democratic Senate leader, Charles Schumer, a liberal from Brooklyn, is far less unpopular than Pelosi and far less targeted by the GOP, or compare Hillary Clinton with the men who preceded her as Democratic presidential nominees. In spring 2016 study, 538.com subtracted the percentage of Americans who felt strongly unfavorable towards Democratic nominees from the percentage who felt strongly favorable at the same time in the presidential cycle. For almost every nominee from 1980 to 2012, the result was roughly zero. In other words, the percentage of Americans who really liked them equaled the percentage of Americans who really disliked them, which makes sense given the roughly even nature of Americans' partisan split. The one exception, Michael Dukakis. Then, in 2016, everything changed. The percentage of Americans who felt strongly unfavorable towards Hillary Clinton exceeded the percentage that felt strongly favorable by 20 points. Was Clinton uniquely liberal or uniquely dishonest or uniquely inauthentic enough compared with the 7 male Democratic nominees who preceded her to explain such a large disparity? Probably not. Gender likely played a key role, and I know there's more to this article. It's on our Facebook page. Dave from Mequon, I hope you read it, man. I was talking to you.
Hey, Dave, welcome. What do you got?
Hey, listen, am I going to be on the payroll, Mike?
Yeah, we owe you.
No, I appreciate, you looking a little further into the article, and I actually did see that this morning in reference to what you just read off there a little bit. What I was going to say, though, I'm actually taking this offline, and I don't know who this is. It's just a Joe Blow person that was online, and this is what they kind of stated. And, with our current Congress and, Senate and everything, we have a bunch of rich people convincing poor people to vote for rich people by telling poor people that other rich people are the reason they are poor. And I kind of think that sums it up as far as this ideological battle that we have. And unfortunately, when Nancy Pelosi was mentioning like Medicare, let's say Medicare and Medicaid and Social Security, unfortunately, by going to Medicare for all, that blows everything up, and Medicaid as we know it.
Come on, man. Blow it up.
Expanding Medicare does not blow up Medicare. It
We've already had
expands
this
it.
conversation.
We got to find guests coming. Dave from Mequon, and you'll have to try again tomorrow to fool us. Robert Friedman, author of Few $1,000, Sparking Prosperity for Everyone, is next. Come back. More Devil's Advocates.
American women deserve better, and American women are here to fight back.
We have found the witch. May we burn her?
But especially the women made me feel good.
But she's a witch.
The Devil's Advocates, where there's always time for Scott Walker bashing.
Welcome to our good buddy, Congressman Mark Pocan. Mark, in some small part, this little radio product, the entire rationale for buying a radio station was opposition to Scott Walker. One person's telling me, be humble, Crudy. Take a day and just be humble. And another person's telling me, no, dance on Scott Walker's grave. So, Congressman, I've always admired your sage advice. Sir, what should I do? How should I react to this?
We should waltz, we should polka, and we should two-step. We should be dancing on this right now. To your credit, and I do want to give you guys credit. In Milwaukee, we have seen a shift, especially the suburban areas, from when we had just conservative radio to having you guys there. We have seen a shift in that area, and that's important because I think when people hear ideas, we do better. And I want to thank you for being there and doing what you do.
Hashtag Walker bashing.
Bye, Felicia.
Hey, everybody. Did you know that Scott Walker's no longer going to be the governor? There's no joke there. I'm just really, really happy.
Brad Zog, owner of Zero Res Madison. Brad, why should people use Zero Res Madison?
Why wouldn't you clean your carpets like this? We've got a patented system. We also do another step that most people don't do. We have a double rotating brush machine that we use when we pre-treat the carpet. So this helps dig up any of that stuff that's deeper in your carpet that the vacuum doesn't get. We're going to provide that intermediary step before we clean with our empowered water.
Call Zero Res today, 608-848-9000. Zero Res. Spell it forward or backward. It's the right way to clean.
Do you love public education? Do you want to support your schools? Then you should support the people who make them work. You should support teachers and their unions. Teachers' working conditions are students' learning conditions, and when the school bell rings, it is crucial that teachers do not check their rights at the door. The ability to organize and advocate around issues that improve the quality of a teacher's workplace will increase opportunities for students and make schools safer for everyone. Stand with teachers, stand with WEAC Region 7.
Have a drink at Regano's Roman Coin. This neighborhood corner tavern is as classic as the street it occupies. Family owned and operated since 1966, Regano's Roman Coin is located in a former Pabst Tide House on historic Brady Street, serving an array of craft beers with a focus on Wisconsin breweries. Also, weekly drink specials, trivia on Wednesdays, seasonal sporting events, parties hosted for all occasions, and pet friendly. Open 11 a.m. Tuesday through Friday, 10 a.m. Saturday and Sunday, closed on Monday. Regano's Roman Coin, Milwaukee's pet friendly, cash only order in classic corner tavern.
Most of my family, they never graduated high school, so I'm trying to break that barrier. My daughter, Brooklyn, was also a motivation for me to go back to school. Every day after work, went straight to school, and it paid off.
At age 26, Kareem finished his high school diploma.
I could not have done it alone. I see the future is really bright for me.
No one gets a diploma alone. If you're thinking of finishing your high school diploma, you have help. Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org. Brought to you by the Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.
For Real Resistance Radio, my name is Brian Kelly. Tony Evers announced 5 new appointments at a press conference in Madison today. State Rep Peter Barker has been named Secretary of the Department of Revenue.
My priorities as a legislator have always been economic development, helping to stimulate family-supporting jobs, expand the middle class, and assist small business growth. And the State Revenue Department plays a critical role in all these aspects, and I believe we can help attain these goals in this department.
The Packers have several interviews scheduled over the next few days to find a new head coach, and the Bucs were off last night. Their next game is tomorrow night against the Hawks at the Forum. Tonight, clear skies, lows in the upper 20s. Tomorrow, sunshine, highs in the low 40s. Saturday, sunshine, highs in the mid 40s. You're listening to Real Resistance Radio.
The Devil's Advocates. They refuse to do math on the radio.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show. Dominic, we welcome a new guest, an author, Robert Friedman, A Few $1,000 Sparking Prosperity for Everyone. Welcome to the big show, Robert.
I'm delighted to be here. Thank you for having me on.
Thank you, sir.
Well, sir, I got to be quite honest with you. I started reading your book yesterday, and I usually try to dive into any author's book before they appear on this program, but I actually found your book quite compelling, sir, and that's not always the case.
Thank you very much.
It was quite a page-turner. I read about a third of the book last night, and I found this book compelling for a couple of reasons. We're going to start talking about some of the thoughts you have, sir, but I like the fact that you have set insets throughout the course of the book while you're talking about financial principles. You also humanize the stories. You've inserted actual human stories within the course of the chapters. That's unusual. I've not seen that often in books. Why did you choose to go that route, sir?
You know, I visited Alaska once, and they say there that the shortest distance between two people is a story. And I think too often, you know, when we talk economics or finance or taxes, we lose people, and we lose the fact that it's really people, common people, starting businesses, buying homes, pursuing their education, saving and investing, that is and should be the groundswell, the foundation of the economy.
And
you
so
know,
one of the
over 40 years with a nonprofit that I started, Prosperity Now, we've been working with communities around the country, you know, kind of trying to allow opportunity to equal the capacity that people have. Every time we've bet on the productive capacity of common people, we've been amazed by the results. And so I tried to tell some of those stories, which, you know, of people generally starting with very low incomes, very poor, you know, foster kids, people born in public housing, who have created, you know, economic futures for themselves their kids, and I think their communities and the economy as a whole.
Now, one of the very first stories you tell in your book, Chapter 1, I believe it's called Wealth, you talk about a bus trip you were on to downtown Atlanta, and some African-American maids or house servants, they were on the very same bus, and you all found yourself entering the very same bank. What was their story, and how did it inspire your work, sir?
So I happened to line up behind three of the women in the bank. We all apparently had to go to the bank at the same time, and I watched as each one in succession pulled out a kind of rumpled envelope with change and a few stray dollar bills in it and presented it to the teller, and I was kind of fascinated by that. So when I got to the front of the line, I asked the teller, so what was that? And they said, oh, well, that's our Christmas club. We're helping them save so they can buy presents for their kids at Christmas. And I said, oh, that's cool. What interest rate do you pay? And they said, oh, no, you don't understand. This is a service we provide. We don't give any interest. And I was outraged. Why should my dollar be worth more than their dollar? Or more fundamentally, why should the financial system serve me, who've been lucky, better than it serves, the mass of people struggling to provide for their families in this economy? And that became the impetus of my lifetime work and quest.
Well, it's a great Genesis story, if you will, sir. We are live on via phone with Robert Friedman. He is an author. He has written the book, Sparking Prosperity for Everyone, A Few $1,000. I've got this book in my hand, sir. Once again, I commend your writing. I think it's very interesting, and I think the human stories are great. Something that some on the left, listening to your voice right now, they might suddenly get critical of you. You're not a big believer in the social safety net in its current form, entitlements, welfare, if you will, sir. Why would you oppose some of the current social safety net programs?
I think it's not so much that I'm opposed to them. I actually think the creation of the social safety net and social services in the 20th century was a great victory against poverty. I think because of it, people eat who would otherwise not, and are housed who are otherwise not. But the system penalizes people for moving forward, and it supports them as consumers. So whenever folks who are low income and dependent on those good systems that we've created start to do any of the things they need to do to move ahead economically, learn, earn, save, invest, they get thrown off benefits. And I think this sets them back, but it also sets the economy back. And so what I really believe and what I try and outline in the book is that the quest for the 21st century is to create the latter, to make sure that people who may be poor today but have dreams and talents and skills and are willing to work for it can move ahead economically by doing things like starting their own business or going to college or buying a home or just saving and investing.
Now, Robert, people on the lowest rungs of the economic spectrum, you don't think of them as being entrepreneurs or people that even, seek to achieve. They're so often just struggling to put food on the table, et cetera, sir. But you've done some research and you've seen these different programs instituted. And my understanding is you are a strong believer that if we incentivize saving and perhaps even match modest savings funds, that we will help advance people out of poverty more readily. I'm sure you'll say it more eloquently than I, but explain the concept, please, sir.
Well, again, I think, as your last question suggests, we've operated with fairly low expectations of people. But for 40 years, we at Prosperity Now and our 25,000 partners at the community, state, and national level across the country have been experimenting with providing microloans to would-be low-income entrepreneurs, to match savings programs. My favorite description of those was a welfare mom who said, "Oh, I see what you mean. You mean a 401k, except for me." Match savings, you save $1, you get $1 or $2 if you'll use it to invest, start a business, buy a home, go to college. What we have found with hundreds, literally hundreds of thousands of low-income people, and often very poor families, families of four operating with an annual income of $9,000, is that they'll save, not because it's easy, not because it doesn't involve sacrifice, but because it's the price of stability and the price of hope. I think most people, there may be exceptions, but most people want to do the right thing. Most people want to support their families, and particularly their kids. Parents will do stuff for kids that they won't do for themselves. I think we, again, have, and I think this is true of left and right alike, we have low expectations of low-income people. What I think the work we've done, and really even our history, speaks to is that given a chance, common people do amazing things.
And Robert, as the title of your book would imply, it really all starts with a modest savings, perhaps a few $1,000s, can be life-changing for generations.
I believe so. I believe our research shows that, you need, I think wealth is too important to be left for the wealthy. Everybody needs at least, and I'm not saying this is the ideal amount, but at least a few $1,000s in reserves, in liquid reserves, to allow them to deal with the inevitable accidents and illnesses that otherwise become crises. But even more so to say, what's the future? To give folks a reason to think about the future, a reason to plan and prepare, and ultimately the ability to invest in themselves and their kids when only they believe. I believe everybody needs an economic place to stand.
Folks, you're listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show. That's Robert Friedman. He's the author of A Few $1,000s, Sparking Prosperity for Everyone. Bob, what about, pay rates, minimum wage increases, consumer protections, payday lending, pensions, the way that the workers have been treated over the last 50 years. How much of an impact does that play into this? And do you think that, a few $1,000s can overcome the system that helps keep these people in the places that they are in?
I love your question. So debt has been increasing for the last 30 years, and I think that's a result of structure. It's a result of stagnating wages, of increasing expenses, increasing volatility in the economy, and it's a result of the way government policy and tax policy specifically, I think, rewards the rich, misses the middle, and penalizes the poor. So we spend at the federal level in excess of $700 billion a year. That's with a B, is about as much as we spend on the Department of Defense, to give you a sense. Incentivizing, subsidizing, if you will, family wealth, the home mortgage interest deduction, preferential capital gains rates, pension fund and retirement savings exclusions, 529 college savings plans. But we designed these in a way that the very richest Americans, people making the top 0.1%, people making over $1 million a year, get an average annual benefit of $160,000 from those programs, those tax expenditure programs, while working families making $55,000 or less get an average of $226 a year, one for every 800 we give the rich. It's obscene. It's upside down. It doesn't result, the difference in that is not we wouldn't have rich people not having houses or not starting businesses. The private economy is doing a great job of generating wealth inequality, and I'm not totally against some inequality. The government has no business subsidizing wealth inequality. We have given literally trillions of dollars a year to the rich. We are investing in wealth inequality. What I think are experiments rigorously evaluated over the last 40 years show that if we simply allow people, if we match the savings of all people so they could assemble a nest egg if they wanted to start a business, buy a home, go to college, do something else to advance their family, we would see literally millions of new jobs, new businesses, new homes owned, an invigorated and more hopeful economy without spending a dollar more, but just by spreading around the benefits. That $700 billion a year averages out to $2,200 for every man, woman, child in the country. I think we should demand that we invest in everybody, and we will all be better for that.
Sir, what about the concept of baseline universal income? We're going to have candidates for the presidency, especially Democrats, advocating for this position. Everyone should get some amount of money, regardless of means testing. You should have some baseline of income that could be depended upon. What's your thought on universal income, sir?
Well, I think with wages stagnating, we need other forms of income. I think the proposals for universal basic income are interesting. I'm more of an advocate for universal basic assets, or universal basic savings, which is a form of universal basic income, but I think it can answer a lot of the questions that universal basic income is not able to right now, like where does the $3.9 trillion come from that an adequate universal basic income would entail. On the other hand, providing every family with a few $1,000s to invest in their futures could be funded out of what we're already misspending. So the money is there. I think it's socially, economically, politically much more viable than universal basic income in this at this point. We have had 40 years of rigorously evaluated experiments that prove that it works. And if you look at our history, we have a history of knowing that these kind of investments work. I would point you to the GI Bill, which I think was one of the great policies in our history, where we said to our World War II veterans, you served our country, you preserved our country, we will provide you with low interest or no interest business loans, home loans, college loans. The GI Bill transformed this country in a decade. It tripled the middle class. It changed the income distribution from a triangle to a diamond. Generated 220,000 businesses, 5 million new homeowners, 9 million college students. It democratized college. I think we need a GI Bill for the 21st century, funded out of what we are already spending, that on the basis of match savings, because I don't think we need more debt, match savings for home, business, education, savings for everyone, and designed in such a way that it can take care of what was the downside of the GI Bill and other democratic investments, that small d, in the common genius like universal public education, the Homestead Acts, to which today even 25% of the population can attribute their wealth, and the creation of the 30-year mortgage by the federal government in Ginnie Mae and Fannie Mae, which brought home ownership into the purview of the middle class. But all of those great policies were aimed basically at white men and left out women and people of color which is the reason that today African Americans, Latinos, Native Americans have a few cents for every dollar whites have. We need to recognize, I think, that history. And so the GI Bill for the 21st century, or what I call the Prosperity Bill, would have us, match the savings of the lowest income Americans at a higher rate so that we can begin to close this racial wealth divide and live up to the ideal of America, which is that everybody should have an equal chance.
Robert,
Abraham, I'll stop. Sorry.
Well, Robert, we're about out of time. I want people to be able to buy your book. It is a fine book. I'm enjoying the read. Sparking Prosperity for Everyone, a few $1,000s. Robert, Amazon, I assume, or where can you buy this book?
You can, hopefully your local bookstore. And I think there are a lot of good local bookstores in your regions, but it is on Amazon as well. A few $1,000s, Sparking Prosperity for All, new press. And I hope that it resonates with folks, and I really appreciate your kind comments. I think a lot of this stuff is stuff we know, we see in, our families and our friends. I mean, like match savings may sound like a strange concept, but, families have used that from time immemorial.
Sorry to cut you short. The afterword of this fine book written by Cory Booker, perhaps a presidential candidate in his own right. Thank you, Robert Friedman. Come back, more Devil's Advocates. The phone line's open. I like this avocation. Matched savings, 844-967-2789.
If there's one thing I've learned in life, it's that learning things never taught me nothing, and books is the worst.
I went to pick up my boyfriend from work, and he had been drinking. He was upset with me. Suddenly, I was being strangled, and he slammed my head on the sidewalk. Every time I went into a courtroom, it just felt like I was pushed to the background.
No victim should be pushed aside and forgotten. Now legislators have a chance to help crime victims like Christina. Marcy's Law is a bipartisan bill that will update Wisconsin's constitution to strengthen the rights of victims, finally giving victims equal rights and protections. If the bill passes in January, voters will have a chance to approve it in April. Stand up for crime victims. Contact your legislators today and ask them to pass Marcy's Law right away.
Everybody can name a criminal's basic rights, but when asked what rights a victim has, I don't even think anybody would be able to say. That's why Marcy's Law is so important.
Paid for by Marcy's Law for Wisconsin, LLC.
Have you outgrown your house? Are you sick of apartment living? Not ready to buy, but know you need to move? Hi, folks. This is Tom Hartman for CCL Management in Middleton. You should consider moving up to one of the finer rental homes CCL Management represents. Unique houses and condos, always clean. Most are pet-friendly. Visit cclmanagement.com today to find your new home. CCL Management, Dane County's premier leasing and property management company.
Call CCL Management at 833-0009. That's 833-0009. Or visit cclmanagement.com today.
The Forum, hosted by Sherwin Hughes, exclusively on Real Resistance Radio. Call in live at 844-967-2789 and give your thoughts, feelings, and opinions on local and national topics. Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to noon. It will not be what you expect to hear, but we will definitely give you what you need to know. That's The Forum, hosted by Sherwin Hughes on Real Resistance Radio. Always streaming live on realresistanceradio.com.
The Devil's Advocates, radio for the 99%.
And we are back. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show, Real Resistance Radio on YouTube and Facebook. Yes, the audio is now working. Thank you, Brian. You can call us toll-free, talk or text. Give us your thoughts at 844-967-2789.
Dominic, I want to thank our most recent guest, Robert E. Friedman, author of the book, Sparking Prosperity for Everyone, a few $1,000s. And I mean, the stories contained within the book, as I mentioned, he's got insets within the chapters, individual human stories. One, a family from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And it is amazing how people use this small savings, the seed money, this nest egg, if you will, and it grows from a couple $1,000s into stability, sometimes for generations. I mean, he's been doing this for 40 years. And Dom, I have never heard, or at least never heard it propositioned in this way, as I read in his book last night, that the simple act of matching savings, of incentivizing savings, can be a lifesaver, can be a game changer for so many families. You don't think about it, but when you can't, $400, $1,000, depending on whose research you look at, so many Americans cannot go to pocket for even the most basic problem that might arise. The lightest of rainy days is overwhelming to so many families. And some of this you think about, the money you're earning today, you're paying debt you've already acquired. What you earn today, the work you do today, you're paying back decisions you made years ago sometimes. Plus debt, plus if you bounce a couple checks, plus some interest on top, right?
Well,
and
sure. Plus,
to get beyond that cycle for so many families, to give someone an opportunity to think, you know what, if I could just save $12,000, I got a down payment on a house. I've got stability for my family. Perhaps I can buy a small business. I mean, this is the story. So many immigrants bring the lifeblood to America. And it's because they bring this sense of entrepreneurship, and they pool their resources, and they create savings. And it makes a difference in our society in so many different ways. Fascinating. I strongly recommend that, you pick it up yourself. Spend a few bucks. I've got it in hardcover. You'll probably pay cheap rates, buy it in paperback. I know you, Dom.
I'll get the Cliff Notes, Gertie.
I'll just tell you what you should read, all the chapters. Come back with us. We've got a fine guest joining us in the happy hour. It's Batman, Matt Rothschild, Executive Director of the Wisconsin Democracy Campaign. Keeping an eye on Scotty Wanker on his way out the door. The NRA spent another $87,000 to support Scott Walker's unsuccessful re-election campaign.
$87,000? That's it?
Well, pardon me, it was like $872,000. 70,000 right. Supported Walker, like $800,000 went against Evers. Come back with us. Batman and the Happy Hour are next.
And I love all people, rich or poor. But in those particular positions, I just don't want a poor person. Does that make sense?
Release the hounds.
On marijuana, unfortunately, as a public health issue and a public safety issue, I've opposed that.
Dr. Sanjay Gupta, how can medical marijuana help those addicted to opioids?
There's three big things. There's clear consensus now that cannabis can treat pain. That is not an opinion. That is a consensus conclusion by big scientific bodies like the National Academy of Science. We also know that it can help treat the withdrawal symptoms of opioids. People, they don't want to be on enemy anymore. They want to quit, but they develop the terrible withdrawal symptoms. And now we have evidence that it can actually help heal the part of the brain that is diseased in someone who's an opioid addict. If you had to start from scratch and design a substance to help lead us out of the opioid epidemic, like in a lab, it would probably look very much like cannabis.
Call Governor Scott Walker at 608-266-1212. Tell him good people do smoke marijuana. This message was paid for by the People for People Corporation. Donate online at p4ppc.org, p4ppc.org. You are listening to Real Resistance Radio, WRRD 1510 AM Waukesha and WTTN 1580 AM Columbus. Always streaming at realresistanceradio.com.
Pelosi wins. Trump reacts. I'm Mike Moss. Newly elected House Speaker Nancy Pelosi says the House must put a spotlight on its work.
Now the floor of this House must be America's town hall, where people will see our debates and where their voices will be heard and affect our decisions. Transparency will be the order of the day.
Pelosi's win was recognized by President Trump.
Hopefully we're going to work together and we're going to get lots of things done, like infrastructure and so much more.
In the Senate, Mitch McConnell remains leader and said Americans are counting on Congress to work together. Mexico is demanding the U.S. explain the use of tear gas on migrants in Mexico. More from correspondent Evan Haining.
Mexico's foreign ministry said it lamented any violent acts along the border and underlined its commitment to the safety of migrants. Well, in the first hours of the new year, about 150 migrants tried to breach the border fence at Tijuana. Customs and Border Protection agents say they fired pepper spray, smoke, and tear gas into Mexico only at rock throwers and not toward migrants already in the U.S. or trying to cross at the fence line. An Associated Press photographer at the scene says rocks were only thrown after agents fired tear gas at migrants scaling the fence. I'm Evan Haining.
The Department of State is urging those traveling to China to exercise increased caution, warning that U.S. citizens could be prevented from leaving China due to its, quote, coercive use of exit bans. Warren Buffett's devotion to Apple is taking a toll on his portfolio. The Oracle of Omaha lost almost $4 billion today after Apple's sales warning was linked to the China trade war. Tech stocks were down 5%, the worst day in 7 years for tech stocks. The Dow was down 660 points. I'm Mike Moss.
Brad Zog, owner of Zero Res Madison, resisting dirty carpets and harsh chemicals. Brad, why should people use Zero Res Madison?
Why wouldn't you clean your carpets like this? We're not using any soaps. We're not using any chemicals. We cost about the same as the other guys. You look at it and you go, where's the downside? You got a completely green clean. It's awesome. We guarantee it. There's no downside.
There's no downside. Use Zero Res. Call Zero Res today. 608-848-9000. Zero Res. Spell it forward or backward. It's the right way to clean.
All workers benefit from unions, as unions create the highest standard in wages, health and welfare, retirement security, and workplace protections. Hello, this is Tom Bennett, President of Teamsters General Local 200. Your voice is your strength. The ability to build a stronger and better tomorrow begins today. Teamsters Local 200 represents workers in numerous industries, and our team is ready to sit down with you and your co-workers to build your unified team. Call Teamsters Local 200 at 414-771-6363 or visit us on Facebook or www.teamsterslocal200.com.
Pope Francis says Catholic bishops in the United States made the sex abuse scandal worse by trying to cover it up.
The Pope wrote that the Church's credibility had been, quote, seriously undercut and diminished by these sins and crimes, but even more by the efforts made to deny or conceal them, end quote. Francis blasted bishops for disunity and finger-pointing, saying it led to mistrust and pain among Catholics. While the Pope was critical of American bishops, he also offered encouragement while telling them to root their responses to the abuse crisis in Scripture. But the pontiff did not offer any specific solutions. That comes as a disappointment to some sex abuse survivors who've been calling on the Pope to do more. I'm Steve Kastenbaum.
The Walt Disney Company has agreed to help expand a national educational program developed in response to the 2012 mass shooting at Sandy Hook Elementary. The program is aimed at helping youngsters know they all are valued. I'm Mike Moss.
The Devil's Advocates.
Tom Perez, chair of the Democratic National Committee. You know, Tom, I didn't know you had all the Badger roots. I got a little hashtag. I'd like to try it out on you. DNC MKE 2020, sir. What do you think, Milwaukee, for the DNC, Tom?
They are one of the cities that has expressed interest. Obviously, the new arena is going to be open and running by them. And I'm sure they will put forth a very, very credible package.
Well, Tom, it's nice that the stadium will be opening up, but also last year on the east side of Milwaukee, the Devil's Advocates and WRRD opened their stations on Brady Street. Bring it home, Tom.
Wow. Amen. Well, I stayed up all night the night before my wedding, so I went out to a lot of watering holes not too far from there.
You're supposed to skip a night between the bachelor party and the wedding, sir.
I didn't get the memo. I wish we had done this interview 30 years ago.
Making radio great again.
For Real Resistance Radio, my name is Brian Kelly. After announcing 5 new appointments today, Governor-elect Tony Evers took questions from the press. When asked what parts of the lame duck legislation he would be defying, he had this to say.
It's likely that most of the activity is going to happen from the outside, and I will likely be the defendant of those lawsuits. I have no intent of breaking the law.
The Packers have several interviews scheduled over the next few days to find a new head coach, and the Bucs were off last night. Their next game is tomorrow night against the Hawks at the Forum. Tonight, clear skies, lows in the upper 20s. Tomorrow, sunshine, highs in the low 40s. Saturday sunshine, highs in the mid-40s. For Real Resistance Radio, my name is Brian Kelly.
Warning, you are about to listen to the greatest radio show ever. And due to contractual obligations and to shield our airwaves corporate licensees from any semblance of liability, responsibility, and gullibility, we must tell you the views represented on this show are not necessarily those of this station or its management. This radio show contains differing points of view on current political topics, and due to the nature of its contents, it should be heard by everyone. Thank you for listening.
3, 2, 1.
Now live from the heart of liberal Wisconsin, where the political party is just beginning, welcome to the Devil's Advocate Show. Best friends proving it's never personal, only politics.
Please allow me to introduce myself.
Now here are your hosts, Dom and Crute.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show. We are sliding into the 4 o'clock happy hour, and I'm happy to announce we've been joined by Batman, Matt Rothschild, Executive Director, Wisconsin Democracy Campaign. Matt, welcome back. Happy 2019, sir.
Hey, Mike. Happy New Year to you and Dom. It's a better year than last one already.
Thanks, man. Happy New Year.
Well, it's 4 days till the state of Wisconsin is scot-free, but Lion Paul Ryan, he's out as Speaker of the House as of today. I want to get your comment on that, Matt, the legacy of Speaker Paul Ryan.
One of the worst speakers in the history of the United States, one of the least effective speakers, one of the speakers with the most fraudulent reputation as being some kind of genius, which he isn't. I mean, this is a disciple of Ayn Rand, and who doesn't believe in regulation of capitalism whatsoever. So good riddance to Paul Ryan.
But he raised a hell of a lot of money, and I know you're a watchdog, but, you know, shouldn't we admire his prowess as a fundraiser, Matt?
Well, you know, I do some fundraising myself, so I admire anyone who can bring in the cash, but what's he bringing it in for? That's the question. He was bringing it in for a right-wing, far-right Republican cause, and maybe he'll still be useful to fill their coffers, but he wasn't good for America. He certainly was not good for passing any decent legislation, and, yeah, I'm happy to see him go. I would have packed his bags if you asked me.
Matt, let's talk about a guy who's been crying himself to sleep every day since November 6th. Scott Walker, he's hitting the bricks in about 4 days. I'm not exactly clear what he intends to do other than give speeches for money, but for those of us that don't think that money should be the end-all, beat-all in politics, Scott Walker still had a hell of a lot of money, Matt, and he was unsuccessful in his re-election bid. Do you take any encouragement from that, or was it just that Tony Evers was well-funded by outside money as well?
Well, the money race was pretty close when all was said and done, but, yeah, I mean, who is Walker going to work for? Is he going to be doing, you know, speeches at weddings and funerals and bar mitzvahs? Is that his next gig, or is he actually going to work for Foxconn or Kimberly-Clark or the NRA? That's what I want to know.
Well, what does this man, who's nearly unqualified for any position, I mean, he's not a college grad, he hasn't worked in the private sector since 1993. Matt, speculate with us. What do you think the man will do other than speechify? Do you think he's gearing up to run for president just in case Trump doesn't make it through to 2020?
No, I don't think he'll run for president. I mean, you know, he threw up all over himself the first time he ran, and people still can smell that, so I don't think he's likely to do that again, or if he did, he wouldn't get too far. I still think the guy's going to get paid by the people who are paying him all along, which is to say the Koch brothers, the Bradley Foundation, or one of these corporate groups, or Wisconsin Manufacturers and Commerce.
But generally, Matt, I would
Diane Hendricks.
Don't those folks,
Supply.
Diane Hendricks and the Koch brothers and those moneyed folks who would, shove around that kind of money is pocket change to them. But even those folks are going to want some sort of return on their investment, and Walker is not in a position now, not being governor, to be able, to my understanding, to influence the legislation in any way. I mean, perhaps he becomes a lobbyist, but what would be the motivation for any of those moneyed interests to continue to pay Walker, in your opinion?
Just payment for services rendered,
Already?
a couple $1 million on the bedside table. Sure.
Wow. We talked about Speaker Paul Ryan, no longer Speaker, new Speaker. Again, Speaker Nancy Pelosi took the gavel today. Matt, want to get your impression. How do you think she'll do? What do you think the priorities should be in the House?
Well, I think she's one of the most talented speakers ever. And we're all in debt to Nancy Pelosi for having any decent kind of Affordable Care Act, because President Obama was willing to throw almost the whole thing overboard until she put her foot down and said, we're not just going to do some picayune insurance reform here. We're going to give people something that really helps them. So she was very, very important in the health care fight with President Obama there as president. First on my list, investigations leading up to impeachment hearings. They have an obligation, a moral obligation, to start investigating these Trump scandals and see where they lead. And I think there's enough evidence already to start calling for impeachment. So I hope she will listen to her progressive caucus and really get on that.
Do you think that they're going to be able to do multiple things at a time? Obviously, the government's still closed. There's legislation. There's work to be done above and beyond investigations.
Yeah, well, I think they got to get the government up and running again. I mean, Trump shot himself in both feet on this one, and I think he understands that at some point and will cut a deal and probably claim victory. He claims victory for everything. Right. So that's the first thing that's going to happen. But then there'll be battles over legislation, certainly going forward, and maybe there'll be some decent bills to repair our horrible infrastructure in this country. But beyond that, I see a lot of log jams between Congress and Trump. So I don't think there's going to be a ton of things getting done. But certainly we need to keep the government open for business and keep people getting paid. People are suffering right now. And, geez, you can't even go to a national park, for God's sakes.
Folks are listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show. That's Matt Rothschild. He's the executive director, Wisconsin Democracy Campaign. Matt, speaking of shooting yourself in the foot, the National Rifle Association, you have labeled them Influence Peddler of the Month. Obviously throwing a lot of money around. To my understanding, they're not doing very well financially, especially on the national level. Why are they the Influence Peddler of the Month, Matt?
Well, they're one of the biggest lobbyists here in the Capitol, and they spend a ton of money during elections. I mean, we just reported that they spent more than $1 million here in Wisconsin on the 2018 elections. Most of that was for Walker, or more specifically, against Evers. I mean, talk about negative advertising. They spent $873,000 in negative ads against Evers, and $70,000, less than 10% of that, in favorable ads for Scott Walker. So, they spent more than $940,000 for Walker, and it was money just flushed down the toilet, ultimately.
Batman, what's that bring Scott Walker's lifetime total from the NRA to, round figures? What do you think he's up to?
It was about $4.5 million Walker got from the NRA over the last 8 years. That's just unbelievable. I mean, here was a guy who was bought and paid for by the NRA. I mean, it's no wonder that he signed all these bills like the Castle Doctrine to let you shoot anybody who's walking up your driveway if you feel like it and not be charged with a crime. And we don't have, you don't need a permit for concealed carry anymore. You don't need training. You don't need licensing, nothing. I mean, it's just crazy what they've done here with these permissive gun laws. And Walker was obviously not looking after the people of Wisconsin, but carrying water for the NRA.
Now,
Matt,
Matt,
got paid to do it.
The NRA has seen a precipitous drop in their revenues, and some of that might be the allegations that they were a conduit from the Russians to Donald Trump. But got to ask you, of all the organizations in America, the NRA seemingly is doing the will of gun manufacturers. Of all the people that are members of the NRA, if you take all their dues, my understanding is it doesn't come close to matching the money they spend on politics. They're obviously getting their money from other sources. But if they've seen a diminishment in money so precipitously, how did they still got scratch to give to Scott Walker's campaign?
Well, it's a good question, or maybe it's just one of the many reasons why they're in trouble right now, because they're spending it badly or not getting bang for their buck. But, what I really want to say is congratulations to those students in Parkland for really putting the pressure on the NRA. Finally, some group of people rose up against the NRA and said enough is enough, and they've been very effective. I mean, the NRA has been suffering ever since these students started to protest, really, and targeted the NRA and went around the country talking about how bad the NRA is. They came here to Madison. I saw them a few months ago, and they've just done an amazing job, they and other activists, on this issue. I mean, how many mass shootings did it take before the NRA finally had to pay some price?
Well, Matt, I got to ask you about a little foreign endeavor that me and Dom have been targeting, Foxconn. This boondoggle of a deal made by Scott Walker on his way out the door. Matt, you know, you are the watchdog, but I know that dark money is so hard to track. But do we have any indications yet whether or not Foxconn has given any grandiose, any quid pro quo back to the outgoing governor for the $4.5 billion that he signed us up for, let's call it for the rest of our lives, Matt?
You know, I don't have any new goods on that, unfortunately. But, you know, what a scandal it would be if he signed up and started to work for Foxconn, or Kimberly-Clark for that matter, because he was just ladling our tax dollars into their stews. And it's just unbelievable, the amount of favors that Walker did for Foxconn. And, you know, you're right. I mean, this is something we're going to be saddled with. And Lord knows, you know, how long Foxconn's going to be down there before they just pick up stakes and leave leave that, you know, tons of acres that I drove through there about a month ago. It was crazy how they've leveled hundreds square miles over there. It's just crazy.
Well, the
Knocking
Republicans,
people out of their homes, too.
Yeah.
Well, Matt, the Republicans in the state of Wisconsin have knocked down any effective campaign finance restrictions. I would wonder, what's your opinion? Can Tony Evers do anything? It's seemingly the will of the Wisconsin people to change campaign finance laws. I mean, we've got a uniquely corrupted campaign finance system in the state of Wisconsin. I can't imagine even Republicans are satisfied, you know, those not in the caucus with Voss and Fitzgerald. Does Tony Evers have a leg to stand on? Will he stand on that leg? Matt, will we see any sort of teeth put back into the campaign finance laws here in the state of Wisconsin?
Well, I think Tony Evers will use the bully pulpit and campaign for campaign finance reform, for limiting the role of big money and dark money in Wisconsin. Senator Chris Larson from Milwaukee is going to introduce a bill in the next few months that will try to repair the damage that was done by this terrible rewrite of the law that Walker and Fitzgerald and Voss did in 2015, which doubled the amount of money that rich people could give and let corporations, for the first time in more than 100 years, donate directly to political parties. I mean, they made it easier and easier for the super rich and corporations to buy politicians, buy laws, and buy public policies. And I think if Tony Evers would just talk about this more, educate the public in Wisconsin, then some of these Republicans would have no place to hide, and at some point they're going to have to come around, because the people of Wisconsin, you know, they want clean government. They don't want money to rule here, and they don't want rigged maps either, for that matter. And so the more he talks about it, the better. And at some point, you know, there are some decent Republicans up there. Rob Coles, the senator from Green Bay, he voted against that horrible campaign finance rewrite in 2015. I'm sure he'd be on board for a reform package, and you just need a few more. But there's problems in the assembly because, you know, King Voss over there is not going to go along with it. So until those things change, the most we can do right now, or the most we can hope for anyway, is educate people, talk about the problem, and rally people to grassroots to solve the problem, because Voss isn't going to solve it.
Matt, wanted to get back briefly to Pelosi. Seen reporting that the House Democrats are going to have a press conference on Friday, unveil their H.R. 1, the For the People Act, a historic reform package to restore the promise of the nation's democracy and the culture of corruption in Washington, and here's the note, Matt, reduce the role of money in politics to return the power back to the American people. Matt, if they took you in, if they asked you what you would like to see with regards to campaign finance, what would you tell them?
Well, I would, first of all, require disclosure on those dark money groups. Anyone who contributes to one of these dark money groups within a year of an election, their name should be released, and the amount of money that they gave should be publicized. That's number one. Number two, we got to amend the U.S. Constitution and finally say, you know, only flesh and blood human beings have constitutional rights. Corporations aren't persons, and money isn't speech, for that matter. If we can do those two things, I think we'd go a long way to cleaning up the system.
Matt, we've got elections coming up February and April, Wisconsin Supreme Court election. We know it is currently a Republican, a conservative bloc that was bought and paid for by frequent litigants before the courts. I want to get your opinion, Matt. Are we going to see the outside, the dark money flowing in to this Neubauer-Hagedorn race, or is this one not the important one because this one cannot flip the court? That one comes a year from now in April. Matt, what's your opinion? Are we going to see more dark money flowing into Wisconsin?
Yes, there's going to be a ton of money here. I think Wisconsin Manufacturers and Commerce and American Federation for Children, they're going to be pouring money in here to try to keep solidify that conservative majority, which is 4-3 right now. This is the Shirley Abramson seat, and if liberals lose that one, it'll be 5-2 conservatives. Now look, this Brian Hagedorn, he was Walker's chief counsel. In the first 4 years that Walker was in office, he was actually the architect of Act 10, the anti-labor law. And so he is clearly a Walker crony. Walker put him on the bench after he did that service for Walker. And so he's a perfect guy for the money folks and the corporate powers of Wisconsin to have sitting there on the Wisconsin Supreme Court. So you can bet that they'll be trying to, throw a ton of money at him so that he gets elected. And by the same token, I'm sure a lot of liberal groups will be supporting Neubauer. So we're going to be awash in money in March and April. You can bet on that.
Well, if only a few of those shekels came our way, we'd be happy, guys. Any New Year's resolutions for you, Batman?
Oh, I'm just gonna, try not to work too hard, try to have fun. Got to have fun every day.
Well, that's what we do right here on the Devil's Advocates Radio Show. We always appreciate when you join us in the happy hour. Batman, Matt Rothschild, Executive Director, Wisconsin Democracy Campaign, and most importantly, a friend of ours. Thank you, Matt.
Thanks, Matt.
My pleasure. Nice talking to you guys.
Folks, we are the Devil's Advocates. Phone lines open. The bat signal, the caller signal, it's out there right now at 844-967-2789. Come back. More Devil's Advocates, Real Resistance Radio. We'll be right back.
The NRA does care.
It's really an honor to work with the NRA, not only in my state, but across the country.
And then I made a noise like this.
Hi, Resistance Radio listeners. This is Kim Schrader, the president of the Milwaukee Teachers Education Association. We are the 4,600 educators who make Milwaukee's public education system possible. MTA members are the guardians of public education because every single day we are fighting to strengthen and protect public schools our students deserve. MTA educators are leading the fight in Milwaukee public schools for smaller class sizes, more recess, physical education, art, and music opportunities for every child in MPS. MTA educators are the champions for healthier school meals, positive discipline practices, equitable schools, and schools that partner with parents. MTA members are the guardians of public education, and we are proud to teach all children, regardless of their zip code. To learn more, follow us on Facebook at the Milwaukee Teachers Education Association.
The Devil's Advocates, where there's always time for Scott Walker bashing.
Welcome to our good buddy, Congressman Mark Pocan. Mark, in some small part, this little radio product, the entire rationale for buying a radio station was opposition to Scott Walker. One person's telling me, be humble, Crudy. Take a day and just be humble. And another person's telling me, no, dance on Scott Walker's grave. So, Congressman, I've always admired your sage advice. Sir, what should I do? How should I react to this?
We should waltz, we should polka, and we should two-step. We should be dancing on this right now. To your credit, and I do want to give you guys credit. In Milwaukee, we have seen a shift, especially the suburban areas, from when we had just conservative radio to having you guys there. We have seen a shift in that area, and that's important because I think when people hear ideas, we do better. And I want to thank you for being there and doing what you do.
Hashtag Walker bashing.
Bye, Felicia.
She was living in a single room with 3 other individuals. One of them was a male, and the other 2, well, the other 2 were females. God only knows what they were up to in there. And furthermore, Susan, I wouldn't be the least bit surprised to learn that all 4 of them habitually smoke marijuana cigarettes. Reefers.
When they go low, we get high. Dom and Krutz are the Devil's Advocates.
And we are back. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show. It's the 420 break, but you can still join us on the phones, 844-967-2789.
And thank you to our most recent guest, Matt Rothschild, Executive Director, Wisconsin Democracy Campaign. Thank you, Batman. Dom, I got a piece I'd like to throw out there, a little mild Walker bashing here. There's at least one Republican who isn't behaving like a sore loser, and it's not Scott Walker, according to the editorial board at the Washington Post. Following their thumping in November's midterm elections, President Trump pretended he had actually won. Far-right members of Congress pressed for a government shutdown over border wall funding. And outgoing Wisconsin Governor Scott Walker signed bills meant to cripple the Democrats who had defeated him before they even took office. But there's at least one Republican in the country who declined to behave like a sore loser. Wait for it, you'd hardly believe it, Dom. Rick Snyder, who was until Tuesday Michigan's governor. As in Wisconsin, Michigan's lame duck GOP legislature tried to clip the wings of the incoming Democratic officials and force through conservative policies before the governor's mansion changed hands. Unlike in Wisconsin, the outgoing governor, Mr. Snyder, refused to play along. How refreshing.
Wow.
Mr. Snyder vetoed a controversial party line bill that would have made it easier for the state legislature to intervene in litigation involving state laws and other official actions. The goal was in part to ensure the state defended a 2015 law allowing religiously affiliated adoption agencies to discriminate against gay would-be parents. Mr. Schneider argued that if the law had been enforced when he was running the state, it would have made it harder for him and the Attorney General to carry on state-related litigation. In other words, he declined to salt the earth as he left the field. I'm going to jump down to the conclusion. Republicans are not the only ones who fear the consequences of handing over power to their opponents. But the GOP has done much more than the Democrats lately to stack the electoral deck against its political rivals. And when that does not work, change the rules to limit Democrats' ability to make policy when they are in charge. Though he is not perfect on these issues, it is heartening to see Mr. Schneider resist the partisan trend on his way out. Now, he still allowed some bad stuff to happen, but at least he didn't stick it to the people like they did here in Wisconsin. I'm talking to you, Scott Walker. More Devils when we come back. Phone lines open, 844-967-2789.
Hey, you want to get high, man?
You know, they can go suck lemons.
Talk it out, man.
Well, I'm going to take a nice long rest now. I can stop rolling over in my grave now that Walker is no longer governor. Thank you, Real Resistance Radio.
Brad Zog, owner of Zero Res Madison. Brad, why should people use Zero Res Madison?
Why wouldn't you clean your carpets like this? We've got a patented system. We also do another step that most people don't do. We have a double rotating brush machine that we use when we pre-treat the carpet. So this helps dig up any of that stuff that's deeper in your carpet that the vacuum doesn't get. We're going to provide that intermediary step before we clean with our empowered water.
Call Zero Res today, 608-848-9000. Zero Res. Spell it forward or backward. It's the right way to clean.
Do you own a rental property, or would you like to partner with a rental investment team? Call the pros you can trust at CCL Management. Rental expertise second to none, a general contractor on staff to direct repairs and improvements, and real estate brokerage services tailored to the small investor. If you're ready to invest in rental property or just need professionals to manage your real estate portfolio, call us, CCL Management, at 608-833-0009 or visit us on the web at cclmanagement.com.
Have a drink at Regano's Roman Coin. This neighborhood corner tavern is as classic as the street it occupies. Family owned and operated since 1966, Regano's Roman Coin is located in a former Pabst Tide House on historic Brady Street, serving an array of craft beers with a focus on Wisconsin breweries. Also, weekly drink specials, trivia on Wednesdays, seasonal sporting events, parties hosted for all occasions, and pet friendly. Open 11 a.m. Tuesday through Friday, 10 a.m. Saturday and Sunday, closed on Monday. Regano's Roman Coin, Milwaukee's pet friendly, cash only order and classic corner tavern.
On Election Day 2016, Madison lost its only progressive radio station, and I've taken strides every day since to bring lefty talk back to my hometown. I'm Crudy, an opinionated devil on the radio, but I'm also Crudy, the entrepreneur and a fiduciary to over 400 clients and their investment in real estate for the last decade. 2 years ago, I put my money where my mouth was, bought and built a radio station in Milwaukee. I've learned hard and expensive lessons, leaving me wiser and uniquely qualified to replicate the effort. I have the license. Now is the time to build an independent 24-hour FM talk radio station in Madison, a durable, rapid response platform that Republicans can't take away with a lame duck. Unique deferral of 2018 cap gains through Opportunity Zone investment possible. Join me, accredited investors, partner with a fellow progressive. Email crude@darnwi.com. This opportunity subject to an SEC 506C filing.
1 in 3 adults has prediabetes. That means it could be you, your best man, your worst man. Take the risk test at doihaveprediabetes.org to know where you stand. Brought to you by the Ad Council and its prediabetes awareness partners.
5 your local single-source IT solutions provider, specializing in cloud technology, consulting, servers, networks, and hosting. We manage your IT so you can focus on running your business. Enjoy technology. Enjoy 59s.com.
For Real Resistance Radio, my name is Brian Kelly. Tony Evers announced 5 new appointments at a press conference in Madison today. Emily Amundsen will be the Secretary of the Department of Children and Families, while Peter Barca has been named the Secretary of the Department of Revenue. Evers named Dawn Krim as the Secretary of the Department of Safety and Professional Services. Caleb Frostman will serve as the Secretary of the Department of Workforce Development, and Andrea Palm will have the Department of Health Services.
Even though our state is organized in silos, or as we affectionately call them around here, as cylinders of excellence, the fact of the matter is the leaders that we select have to be able to intuitively connect the dots.
Tonight, clear skies, lows in the upper 20s. Tomorrow, sunshine, highs in the low 40s. Saturday, sunshine, highs in the mid 40s. For Real Resistance Radio, my name is Brian Kelly.
The Devil's Advocates, the fix for political junkies everywhere.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show. The happy hour, it continues, and it's always just a little happier when people participate. You know, you get a ribbon.
No, you don't.
All you got to do is call 844-967-2789. See Fancy Brian for your ribbon. Let's get to the phones.
Pizza Box, Mike, you are up. Thanks for calling, man. What do you got today?
Well, that's why I go to the Capitol to get a participation ribbon. I don't get per diem or anything like that. But did you guys know that, like, there's 4 freshman legislators that have to share 2 offices? Because the last 2 years, Robin Voss has decided to, suck up more real estate at the Capitol. This is going inside the Capitol. He's got, like, 2 extra offices besides his own for himself and his staff. This guy's, like, beyond.
Well, he's a very, very
arrogant.
busy man. Hell, I think he just, he commissioned a blue ribbon commission to study the crappy well water we have in southwest Wisconsin. So he needs the real estate.
Boss Voss needed a spot for Cooter and Roscoe P. Coltrane.
Yeah, listen, hey, his wife better get concerned. He's probably got an extra desk for doing, what she did with him way back when they were both married and nobody was stuck by. Hey, you know what? I got a problem here tonight, guys. I got 2 tickets to the Badger game against Minnesota, and there's only one me. The person that was going to go apparently is not going to make it. I don't even know what time the game starts. I think 7. Anybody want to go to the game?
Come on, man. I'm not a clearinghouse for your tickets, buddy. Unless you're inviting me, in which case I would probably.
Hey,
I don't think I can do it, Mike. I don't want to.
7
I don't want to ask if I can't go.
Right, and I can't sell them, so if I have to, I'll just say, "Hey, man, you want to go to the game?" A stranger might be going with me. It'll be fun.
Spread the love, Pizza Box Mike. Thanks for calling, man.
One time we had some extra tickets that you made me buy. What was it? A Bon Jovi concert. We got them from the Scalpers. We had like 3rd row tickets up near the front, and you sucked me in. You said, "Hey, man, we're going to a concert," And I said, sure, man, I'm down. Summerfest, whatever. You didn't tell me it was going to be like $250 a ticket for Bon Jovi.
Come on,
and
man.
you didn't tell me that you didn't have enough friends willing to pay. So then we got extra tickets. And ultimately, we give away, and I was single then. This has been some number of years ago.
Yeah, you weren't too unhappy.
Approaching like 20 years ago, we give tickets to two very pretty girls. They come. I got one pretty girl on one side, one pretty girl on the other side. You know who else noticed I was sitting with the pretty girls? Apparently Bon Jovi or someone in the band, because the next we see, they take a short intermission. There are the pretty girls dancing, stage right, and once again, Crudy, all out of love.
You're welcome. 844-967-2789.
That was a damn expensive way to get stood up, Tom.
Jake from Milwaukee, you're up. Thanks for calling. What do you got?
Yeah, pizza box. I heard Scott Walker's got some extra time.
Oh, there you go. Let's throw him out there.
I'm just wondering what I got two things. The first thing is like Scott Walker's letter thing about I'm going to send a conservative message in Wisconsin. The first thing I thought is like, you don't have a job, do you? The first thing I thought when I heard that, like, no one is giving you jobs, even Diane Hendricks, your sugar mama. It's pretty pathetic, actually, if you think about it.
He signed up for the speakers tour, man. I'm just wondering how much we got to pay to hear Scott Walker come into this studio and tell us all about his good governance.
Having a great time.
Oh, I think he would have. No, you guys should do it. Seriously, like, hey, we'll pay you like whatever, like $50, maybe even $100. Clean the toilets, and then
okay, $200 and 2 ham and cheese sandwiches.
Oh, don't get on those ham and cheese sandwiches. You might bring you some Kohl's T-shirts too. My other thing is about Tony being the new governor. I am mildly hopeful, but, and I say this, I understand he's going to have to do some dealing to get what he wants, and it's going to take a while because we have a budget that's just going to move over. What he cannot do is sell out one of his main running platforms completely. He cannot do that because there's people like me, and there's a lot of other people that said, okay, we may not get everything, but we want you to fight for it, right? So when it comes to Foxconn, he said he's going to try to get better things from it. He better get better things from it rather than abdicate that position, because all of us that voted for you are expecting you to fight for it, not give it away. So,
and you say you're modestly optimistic? Because I guess that makes one of us then, Jake.
Because in some way, I think he's, right now, the way he's handling it, but, I mean, he's not even governor yet. So I think, you got to give him some time. It's going to be a little learning curve.
What, he's going to fight his balls over the weekend? What do you think's going to happen, Jake? I mean, I'm being this is sincerity. What's going to change between now and Monday?
Well, Monday is his first day in office. I don't know. All I'm saying is I'm going to give him a few months, and I need to see something from him. That means he's not abdicating his positions just to play nice. And I don't want him to play nice. I want him
What
to
about medical cannabis? Suggested he would put it in the Wisconsin state budget, and now apparently has no intent of doing so, honoring his word. I mean, he's already backpedaling.
Yeah, I know. But if he can get something bigger from it, I don't know. I mean, he's got Boss Voss, the most hated man in Wisconsin, to deal with, and a bunch of treasonous to democracy Republicans who have control everything, and they have the AFP bought, WMC bought in Supreme Court. So he's got to play a fine line. But that, I don't know. I'm trying to be optimistic.
I keep hearing about the bully pulpit, that he's got this bully pulpit. Why isn't he using it? I mean, other than silos of excellence, if I hear that frickin' joke one more time, I'm going to get nauseous. Other than telling that joke at every press conference I've been to this year, I'm not sure what he's doing with the so-called bully pulpit.
Come on, man. Every politician has their stump lines that they use. Let's get some more thoughts here. Joel from Madison, you're up. Thanks for calling, Joe. What do you got for us?
Well, I just wanted to thank you so much for that interview with the author. That was fantastic, and I hope everybody gets a chance to hear that again. And as always, Batman he's delightful to be able to get his take on things. I was curious, and I was interested in his thoughts about what's up next for Scott Walker, and I'm just stunned that he doesn't have some placeholder type job in Foxconn or the Koch brothers. I mean, talk about he went to the middle for those guys. I was thinking maybe a job of director of ethics, for example, for Foxconn or communication.
I mean, you would think even back in the day when I was a high schooler, I mean, the football stars had no-show jobs. You think they'd give them something, right? A little something for the effort. Gunga galunga.
Yeah, a line on the resume. Just a little line on the resume.
Well, perhaps he should have fought harder for Oscar Mayer, because with all the deli meat this guy eats, he's a perfect spokesperson for him.
It'd be great to see those pictures of him with the sandwich, wouldn't it? I mean, it would thrill us, absolutely thrill us.
Well,
anyway,
he is absolutely Joe and Oscar Mayer Wiener. I'm sorry, I interrupted. Please, you go.
No, I cannot top that. That's absolutely. I bow out at that point. I'll catch up with you guys soon. Thanks for everything.
All right, thank you for the call, Joe. Appreciate
Thanks for listening, Joe.
Let's get one more in here. 844-967-2789. Wisco, Paul, you are up. Thanks for calling, Paul. What do you got today?
Yeah, it's hard to follow Joel. She's such a good caller. But hey, yesterday the Washington Examiner had Romney got more votes than Trump. I'm just saying. I just didn't grab it out of thin air. Hey, what do you think about the cabinet? Nobody from Northwest Wisconsin that I'm aware of. No Kathleen. Northwest Wisconsin. I mean, am I wrong on that? Nobody. He didn't pick anybody from up in that area. Is that correct?
No, you're not wrong about that. To the best of my knowledge, Paul. And that specifically, I was asked that today. What about Kathleen Feinhout? I mean, that was the first question I was asked. Is Kathleen Feinhout been extended a cabinet secretary's position? And I mean, it's going to be a shame and a crime, Paul, if Kathleen Feinhout leaves the state Senate and is not offered some noble position in the Evers administration. She is a sharp lady. She has done the math. She has done the homework. She would give me something to be optimistic about, at least if she joined the Evers team. Tony, first you got to ask, right?
Yes, that would be fantastic. Anything to do with number crunching policy. She always came prepared. She always knew what she was talking about. It would be good if she was somehow involved in this administration. I'm with you there,
and
Paul.
Geographically, it would be nice to have someone from the northwestern portion of Wisconsin. I mean, they can't all be Madisonians and Milwaukeeans and Caleb Frostman. Folks, we are the Devil's Advocates. We'll come back. We'll take more phone calls. Got to turn off the 5 a.m. signals, but want to thank Robert Friedman and Matt Rothschild, and want to thank you for listening. But we're going live to stream RealResistanceRadio.com. We ain't done yet. Come right back.
Look at her over there. Hey, how about a little something, for the effort?
You'll get nothing like it.
Good evening, everyone. Due to FCC regulations and that we are an AM daytime radio station, this now concludes our broadcast day. But you don't have to leave us. We do stream online 24/7 at RealResistanceRadio.com. That's RealResistanceRadio.com. Or check us out on the TuneIn app at WRRD. For those of you already streaming, we now continue regular programming, and please welcome your friends from the radio. Say hello, everyone. WRRD 1510 AM and WTTN 1580 AM, Real Resistance Radio. Good night, everyone.
Do you love public education? Do you want to support your schools? Then you should support the people who make them work. You should support teachers and their unions. Teachers' working conditions are students' learning conditions, and when the school bell rings, it is crucial that teachers do not check their rights at the door. The ability to organize and advocate around issues that improve the quality of a teacher's workplace will increase opportunities for students and make schools safer for everyone. Stand with teachers, stand with WEAC Region 7.
Here in the Badger State, we have our own expressions. When we're looking to go on vacation, we state, well, let's go up north. Hello, this is Tom Bennett, President of Teamsters Local 200. Here in the Badger State, we also have another expression, union yes. The strength of the labor movement depends on elected officials here in Wisconsin and Washington, D.C. that support the values of working families that raise the standards for all. Give us a call at Teamsters Local 200 at 414-771-6363 or visit our website at www.teamsterslocal200.com or on Facebook at Teamsters Local 200. Be engaged.
You're listening to the radio show your mother warned you about. Tom and Kreutz are the devil's advocates.
And we are back. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show. Last segment of the day. So if you've got something to say, now is your last opportunity today at 844-967-2789.
Dominic, today, Nancy Pelosi's big day. She got the Speaker's gavel. Paul Ryan's name's already been eradicated from the wall. They pulled down Lion Paul Ryan, but Donald Trump had to try to preempt, steal a little bit of Nancy Pelosi's thunder. Now, it was the first White House press conference of the year. Sarah Sanders has been a little ghosty herself this year so far, and she's out there, and then Donald Trump apparently joined her at the podium while we've been on the air today, Don, but, nevertheless, we persist. We've got the sound.
Let's hear it. Was Sarah Sanders there? I didn't. We have any sound from Sarah? We don't?
Yeah, she had a blue V-neck introducing, I've already seen the quote, something like the greatest president ever. That's how she introduced her boss.
Wow. Let's hear some of the...
I would like to be similarly introduced greatest radio co-host ever.
Yes, way to go, Trump Crudy. Let's hear the president congratulating the new Speaker of the House.
I just want to start off by congratulating Nancy Pelosi on being elected Speaker of the House.
Well, that was very, I guess, proper.
Magnanimous?
I don't know if I believe it, but let's continue. Let's give the guy his due. Trump working with the Democrats.
Hopefully we're going to work together and we're going to get lots of things done like infrastructure and so much more. I know they want to do that very badly, so do I. So hopefully we're going to have a lot of things that we can get done together. And I think it's actually going to work out. I think it'll be a little bit different than a lot of people are thinking.
Infrastructure and so much more. Well, I'm really interested in the so much more. CNN reporting Democrats to ask for 10 years of presidential tax returns in new bill. I wonder if that's
some Democrats already raised impeachment on the floor of the Congress today.
So really looking forward
Too soon?
No, not at all. In fact, they should have had something for us today. Let's hear more of he was introduced as the greatest president ever. Wow. Trump on the wall, 141.
I have never had so much support as I have in the last week over my stance for border security, for border control, and for, frankly, the wall or the barrier.
So much support. What's he using, control top pantyhose now? What's he talking about?
I'm not clear. It must not be from people calling the White House switchboard because nobody's working. So they must have his private cell phone number or they're tweeting to him directly. Let's hear more border wall.
You can call it a barrier. You can call it whatever you want. But essentially, we need protection in our country. We're going to make it good. The people of our country want it.
We're going to make it good. Mr. President, what is your goal for 2019?
We want it so bad.
We're going to make it good. It's going to be good. It's going to be good. We're going to make it good. But let's remember, this guy, we mentioned it yesterday, and Trump tells us all the time, he, the president, Mr. Trump, Donald himself, is the foremost expert on just about anything. Well, what about drones? Let's hear 143.
Having a drone fly overhead, and I think nobody knows much more about technology, this type of technology, certainly, than I do. Having drones and various other forms of sensors, they're all fine, but they're not going to stop the problems that this country has.
No, you are the problem this country has. What qualifies you? How can you say that you know more about this technology than anybody? Now, when he says things like that, Doesn't it take away a little bit from his, I don't know,
credibility?
Yes, thank you, Michael.
He has no credibility to lose.
So he just continues to say it. He knows the most about everything.
Dom, when you lie like 7 times a day, I mean, what's it really matter at that point? And when I say 7 times, I mean public statements that are clearly provably false. I'm not saying, you told the wife you'd be home in 15 minutes and it was 20. Not that sort of, I'll be there soon sort of white lie you might tell occasionally, Dom. When you're off bar hopping or whatever you do.
Oh, no, I'm very fine being very honest about the bars I am going to. Let's hear more about the border wall of Crudy. It's very popular.
I have never had anything like it in terms of calls coming in terms of people writing in and tweeting and doing whatever they have to do. I've never had this much support, and we've done some things that, as you know, have been very popular.
Calls coming in? Can you present us with a call list, perhaps? I'm just curious to know what the numbers. What number are they calling? Because my understanding is the switchboard at the White House is closed. I'm just asking.
It's not 608-266-1212.
No, that's Governor Walker.
Oh, yeah.
One more from the greatest president ever, at least according to his press secretary, Donald Trump on the border.
We've never had more people wanting to come to the United States, and that has to do with the economy and has to do with a lot of other things. We're doing great as a country, but the better we do, the more people want to come in.
How are we doing today, Dom? Because last I checked, the markets were off almost 700 points.
Down almost 3%. Yeah, that hurts a little bit. And a lot of it, of course, because of Trump's actions. China's getting hit, their economy's sinking, so Apple's sinking, and there goes the domino.
The Trump tariffs haven't even really kicked in yet. They don't even really activate until March, Dom.
Now,
this is just pre-Trump tariff trimmers in the market.
Well, of course, there's concern that a deal is not reached, and I don't know why people would be concerned. I mean, obviously, the president is the greatest negotiator ever. Just ask him. Now, let's reflect back yesterday, if I may. Before getting on the air, of course, Donald Trump had a cabinet meeting, and I saw some social media postings of it with the Game of Thrones style full poster on the table in front of the president. And I didn't hear any journalist ask him, what is that there for? And I did not hear him reference this poster, which was, outdated. It said, November or something. Why? Why did the president have a poster of himself in front of him at his cabinet meeting? Why did he not bring it up? And why did not one single journalist, to my understanding, ask him, why do you have a picture of yourself on the desk, Trump?
Because winter is coming.
What the hell? I mean, isn't it? I don't want to knock on the journalist, but if you're a journalist in the room, all right, is that the first thing you ask? Hey, why do you got a picture of yourself a huge picture of yourself in front of you on the table at this cabinet meeting, Mr.
Now,
President?
You like Game of Thrones. I like Game of Thrones. If his point is build a wall, at the very end of the last Game of Thrones season, didn't that wall come tumbling down?
Right.
Aren't the White
Walkers?
Aren't the White Walkers already coming? I mean, effectively, this is like the southern wall, right? They've just flipped the geography around, and the White Walkers, the Walking Dead, or as Trump would call them, cabinet secretaries, they're...
Shouldn't someone in the room ask the question? Shouldn't the president himself bring it up? I mean, how does that just sit there and no one says anything?
Okay, I'm going to ask the obvious.
Them by burning them, and we can destroy them with dragon glass.
Now I'm going to ask the obvious question. Dom, isn't that a Sean Cassidy poster I see over your shoulder?
What? Sean Cassidy? I'm sorry, man.
You got it from your Tiger Beat magazine and taped her on the wall. I know, you just drink and know stuff.
I drink and know stuff, and I think it's a little strange that scenario would be there and nobody talked about it. I mean,
you know what? Here's where the analogy falls apart. What's the motto of the Lannister? A Lannister always pays his debts.
Yeah, Trump ain't a Lannister.
He's not a Lannister.
No.
Trump never pays his debts, although he does remind me of a grown-up Joffrey.
He's terrible. 844-967-2789. I just think it's it's I don't want to criticize, professional journalists, but when you have, how is that not the first question? I mean, if the guy had a mannequin of himself sitting next to him in his chair, would you ask then? I mean, if it was a sex doll, a blow-up doll sitting on the table, would you ask then? I mean, at what point do you ask, why is this here, Mr. President? What are the I never went to J school, Crudy. Wouldn't you ask the question?
Well, first and foremost, I am often critical of anyone that catches my ire. So journalists, why not them? Above and beyond that, Tom, if there was a blow-up doll, a sex doll, if you will, sitting in the cabinet meeting or perhaps the Situation Room somewhere close to the President of the United States, yeah, I might raise that. It's a quandary of the POTUS. I might say, hot date tonight, later.
I mean, this is a very, very sexy subject.
Yeah. Why didn't he do a poster, all Fabio style? He's clutching onto those last strands of hair. Why not give himself the flowing locks and the muscled chest and the shirt coming off?
I mean, it's all a lie anyway. Why not just take it to the nth degree?
Why not?
Why not play the Aquaman role? You know what I mean? The long hair, the big build.
He doesn't like the water, Tom. He won't even go out in the rain. He could never be Aquaman.
Well,
he'd get his hair wet.
Yeah, he won't go visit the cemeteries because it's raining, but hell, he'd make a good general. It's just strange. I think it's a failure of journalism to not ask, why do you have this stupid poster on your desk? And, of course, it's another failure of this president to bring out a prop and just leave it there and not even talk about it.
I tell you what, Tom, you bring a prop to Tony Evers' inauguration. You bring a blow-up sex doll, put it on the podium next to him, and if there are questions from the press, I will inquire, Tony, got a hot date later?
Jeez.
We will bring you live coverage of all my fine questions at the Tony Evers inauguration. That will go live Monday right here on Real Resistance Radio, about 11 o'clock Central Time. It'll last about an hour, the inauguration of Tony Evers. I want to thank our fine guests today. Once again, they were Robert Friedman, author of A Few $1,000 Sparking Prosperity for Everyone, and of course, Batman, Matt Rothschild, Executive Director of the Wisconsin Democracy Campaign. Thank you all for listening, those of you that participated on the phones and via text, Twitter, and social media comments. We always read every single one. Right, Dom? Every single comment.
Between two of us, we get to most of them.
Thank you for listening. Have a great night. Do it all again for you on Friday when we air grievances on the radio.
I always want to tell the truth. When I can, I tell the truth.
This is like bowl of doggy do. Put a cherry on top and call it a chocolate sundae.
If we don't win this fight, then that is the fate of every person in the world.
Yeah, I guess why not? Do you own a rental property, or would you like to partner with a rental investment team? Call the pros you can trust at CCL Management. Rental expertise second to none, a general contractor on staff to direct repairs and improvements, and real estate brokerage services tailored to the small investor. If you're ready to invest,